somebody down. I need it. Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, December the 6th, 2016 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Pastor Ben Wiles, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Let's bow our heads. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. We acknowledge before you tonight that all governments are under you, and insofar as there is peace and order, it is your order. So we invite you into these proceedings tonight to guide and direct us. We ask that you give us wisdom to navigate the challenges of governance, give us solutions that lead to safety, prosperity, and justice under heaven. Give us ears to hear you and one another, and give us a desire for peace and cooperation to bring blessing to Hot Springs and Garland County. For you said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." And now, all of God's people, join our voices together as you taught us to pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Ramick.
Here.
Foley. Here. And Carney.
Here. Okay. The first item of tonight's agenda is the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda?
Mayor, as you pointed out to me earlier today, item number 15 is the only item of new business. It's a pretty straightforward ordinance that deals with the waiver of fees under the Building and Mechanical Code. Is there anyone on the board who would like to see that moved up ahead of the public hearing so that item can be summarily
Yes, I would.
on?
Okay, we have a motion to move. Do we need a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to move item number 15 up before the public hearings. Okay, is there any other correction, addition, deletion, modification? Hearing, you have one?
No, I was going to move for approval of the agenda as amended.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, it is approved. The next item of business is to consider approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting that we had on November the 15th and the special call meeting on November the 28th. Are there any corrections for those minutes?
I move to accept the minutes from
Okay.
the November 6th, 15th
Do we
meeting.
have a second? Okay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is adopted. Okay, in an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, we ask that our citizens and guests adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments. And for your convenience, we'll display a clock timer. Please be mindful of that and don't go over, because we will be here a very long time if you go past 3 minutes. Out of the respect of all of us, that we ask that you do that. And if you have, while the members of the boards may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after the speakers. And this is on the items on the agenda, not on the public hearing. As a reminder, please speak into the microphone, and everyone can that's viewing from home can hear what's going on and can be a part of the meeting also. We also ask that you silence your cell phones And please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting. And should you need to leave prior to the conclusion, we ask that you do so quietly without talking to your neighbors. We appreciate your interest in the business of our city, and we thank you for being here. At this time,
Pardon me, Mayor.
yes.
We missed the special call meeting on November 22nd. Minutes to be
28th.
approved.
Yeah, I read that. We approved both
Approved both
of them.
sets.
It's at once?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did. I
Okay.
gave both dates.
My mistake.
Okay. And did you have any objections to that special call meeting or anything?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't think we have any specific guests tonight, but we do have a proclamation. All of you are our guests tonight. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. We have a proclamation declaring the 2016 general election results, and I will read that. I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim that at the general election held on November the 8th, 2016 in the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, the following votes were cast for directors on the Hot Springs Board of Directors. District 1, Suzanne Davidson, total votes was 875. Dennis McGee, 694. District 3 was Becca Clark with 933 total votes, and Susan Jones at 671. District 6 was Randy Foley with 2,089, and Renee Westfall with 954. This is given on the 6th day of December 2016, Ruth Carney, Mayor, and that will be filed as a proclamation. And we will now hear our city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Board. I want to start by, I know this has been in the newspaper already, but I want to recognize our police department tonight because between 2014 and 2015, Hot Springs experienced a significant double-digit drop in its crime rate. I think our new chief and his command staff and our other officers are all working hard to make sure we do our best in the coming years as well. Of course, statistics don't mean very much in a given year, but the most value we get from those is over a period of years. So we'll see how that goes. But it's not uncommon to see a 3 to 5% fluctuation in those kind of rates every year. But it's still better than going the other way. And I was actually surprised it was that big of a number. So we're really proud of the work they're doing. Also, I want to update you on our work on broadband. As you know, the Chamber of Commerce and the city and the folks at West Central Planning District have been working together with Senator Sample trying to address some of the reasons that Arkansas ranks near the bottom in broadband deployment in the United States. And we've discovered through the work of our city attorney and our right-of-way attorney out of Chicago that one of the reasons we're having trouble with this is that we have 3 or 4 state statutes that basically provide current telecom providers a secure marketplace and very little competition. And I think when some of those 1050 in particular was enacted, the theory was that the providers would step up the game and they didn't want to compete with government to provide that service. But since that's about 4 or 5 years old now, the service is about the same. And so we feel like they've had an ample opportunity. So early last week, the 10 counties that make up the West Central Planning District unanimously voted to approve a resolution. I shared that with the board in an email. We have crafted a resolution that's similar to that one, a little bit more comprehensive, and has some more research behind it. So I'm going to pass that out now to the board, and we'll be bringing this to you at a future meeting. I would encourage you to read the whereas paragraphs because they actually are real informative, and I know those resolutions can be not very interesting reading sometimes, but I think you'll find that the whereas paragraphs here are informative, and so I'll pass those out now for you, and we'll be bringing that to you. In the interim, too, make sure you let me know if you have any questions or thoughts or ideas that you see as a result of reviewing the resolution. And again, I've also reached out to the Arkansas Municipal League and talked to their director, and we're going to be having some future meetings with legislators and trying to work towards some solutions that would allow Hot Springs to improve its broadband service. And then next, this is my last item, I want to talk about our CAFR, our comprehensive annual financial report. It's right here. I know all the board members have been given a copy. I'm sure you haven't had a chance to read it yet. I want to thank our finance department as well as all of our department heads and other staff in the accounting in each of the departments that worked on this. One of the things I have to say that's remarkable, this is my first CAFR here while I've been your city manager. But of all the CAFRs I've seen in my career, I've never seen one that was completely clean with not a single finding. It's really exceptional to have over 600 employees and not have a petty cash drawer somewhere or a lunch ticket that's lost or some kind of small finding where they usually want you to hire 3 or 4 new employees. And I've been through that virtually every place I've worked, and I've never been experienced a CAFR with no findings. So I think we just owe a congratulations to Doretha and her team at the finance department.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And Mayor, I'll keep my report short tonight because I know there's a lot of folks waiting to talk.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your report. And do the directors have any announcements concerning upcoming events? Okay, we're having a parade right now, right? Upcoming.
Yes.
I do want to mention on the upcoming events, on the consent agenda, item number 11 is a resolution. We don't talk about these, but it's a free ride day for our buses for intracity transit. And that, I'm pretty sure, is on Christmas Eve, the 24th. And it's all day long, free ride day with our buses. So I hope all of our people that ride the buses will take advantage of that Christmas Eve shopping and going to the places so they don't have to pay that day. And it's a good day to ride the bus, too, for all of you who have never ridden a bus, to take a ride and meet the people on the buses. It's a good experience to do. Okay. The next item of business is the consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I move for adoption of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, I think, Mr. Foley. Okay, and would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, and the next item of business is the new business to consider ordinance number 01655. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01655, an ordinance amending the Hot Springs Code Title 15, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and gas, and fire prevention building codes by providing certain incentive, construction permit, and plan check fee waivers, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, and Ms. Selman, please.
Thank you. Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. This item requests the board to consider certain 2017 fee waivers that would be in effect until January 1st, 2018, for the purpose of stimulating new home building within city limits and stimulating hotel, motel, bed and breakfast construction within the Thermal Basin Fire District. Previous ordinances have authorized such waivers during 2014, 2015, and 2016, and this request is that you consider for the upcoming year as well. New residential construction and downtown redevelopment are keys to Hot Springs' economic growth. This incentive is proposed to be effective on the date the ordinance is passed. Without approving the emergency clause, the ordinance cannot take effect sooner than January 7th, 2017. This would create a gap during which fees must be assessed. So the emergency clause is requested on this ordinance. That concludes the presentation.
Okay. Okay, we didn't have anyone signed up for that one. I do not think. I was looking for, that would be nothing. Okay. So, we have any questions for Ms. Selman from the board?
Mayor, I would like to comment that I've received a note that perhaps the audio is cutting out on the television. I don't know if that is home television viewing as well or if it's just out in the hallway. But if we could all be more conscientious and speak into the mics.
Do you have any questions about the waiver of fees for Ms. Selman? Does everybody understand? Okay, hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted, and we have an emergency clause on that so that people really fast won't have to pay that fee.
Mayor, this is Section 3, Emergency Clause. New residential construction and downtown redevelopment are keys to Hot Springs' economic health. This incentive shall be effective on the date of this ordinance is passed. That concludes the reading of the emergency clause. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt the emergency clause and have discussion, if any.
Okay.
I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Any discussion? Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay. The next 3 items of business are public hearings regarding ordinance annexation of enclave areas C, D, and E. And we will start with area C. And first of all, I will now call the public hearing to order. And that means you talk first. Okay. I need to read this first, okay? Just wait a second. I have 2 little things here to read. I want to welcome all of you here tonight, and I want to thank those of you who are here to address the items on tonight's agenda. But first of all, I want to express my personal apology to you and your families that you had to be here tonight. This is a time of year that each of you should be enjoying family and friends and watching or participating in the Christmas parade, shopping or attending parties or baking Christmas goodies. So I want to apologize for the governmental intrusion of your private lives and neighborhoods during the holiday season. The timing set for this hearing is very unfortunate because this time of year is already an emotionally charged season due to many things such as family relationships and financial pressures and missing family members who are no longer with us to celebrate, such as my son who was killed 1 year ago this week. And I had much rather be watching the Christmas parade with my grandchildren. So I do, again, apologize for this holiday cheer that we're spreading. So now we will have a few guidelines for our meeting. This is a public hearing on Enclave Study Area C. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear input and comments from residents and property owners of Area C, as well as citizens of Hot Springs. We will adhere to our 3-minute limit for each person signed up to speak. There are many individuals here to speak, and not everyone has the same opinion. I am requesting that if we all treat one another with civility and mutual respect, please refrain from any outburst. Please, no cheering, jeering, booing, clapping, etc. It would appear that we are all going to be here for quite some time tonight, and interruptions will only delay the next speaker's opportunity to be heard. If a previous speaker has already addressed the same points or concerns that you have, please consider yielding the floor to the next speaker. There will be no vote on this issue tonight. This is simply a public hearing. This is not the time for debate or interrogation. If there are questions raised by any of the speakers, we will make note of every one of them and provide a full response before the board taking any action on the matter. The board will not debate on this issue tonight. We will not have discussion on it. Planning and Development Director Kathy Selman will give an introduction, and then we will hear from those who have signed up to speak at the public hearing. So we are asking that you would please adhere to this guideline, and we hope that the evening will go smoothly. And thank you again for being here. I appreciate that. Ms. Selman.
Thank you, Mayor. Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. Thank you for allowing me this time to introduce the 3 public hearings. Tonight, the board has scheduled 3 hearings as required by Arkansas law. We will precede the hearings with a summary of what we know about annexation impacts to areas newly annexed to Hot Springs. The purpose of public hearings is not merely to meet a statutory requirement, but it is to learn from you. A little bit of background. The City of Hot Springs Board of Directors initiated this action in furtherance of goals adopted as early as 2011. Hot Springs 2030 updated the city's 1997 comprehensive plan. Hot Springs 2030 participants presented to the board a prioritized list of 19 implementation strategies, of which annexation came out number 2, second only to fiscal strategy. Soon thereafter, and continuing for 2 years, county representatives, led by Judge Rick Davis, began meeting with city representatives, including planning commissioners, to recommend future steps regarding development within the city's adopted planning area. Meeting summaries reflect discussion about annexation of areas generally south and west of city limits and north of Lake Hamilton. At their 2015 February Strategies Retreat, the Board of Directors specifically considered annexation policy. The board demonstrated consensus that the board should focus on annexation policy for the city, and ordinance annexation of eligible areas began in that year. A little bit about the legal basis. ACA 1440-501 to 1440-503 provide that unincorporated islands of land that have been surrounded by the incorporated limits of a municipality may be annexed by that municipality. On November 15, 2016, Hot Springs Board of Directors approved resolutions number 8990 regarding Area C, 8991 Area D, and 8992 Area E, setting the time and date for tonight's public hearings. On November 17, 2016, a legal notice was published in the Sentinel Record setting out the legal description of the territory to propose to be annexed and the time and place of the hearing. And on November 16, 2016, notice was sent to all known property owners of record within the area as prescribed by Arkansas statute. The area to be annexed complies with standards for lands qualifying for annexation. Those standards are set forth in ACA 1440-302 and ACA 1440-501. And the State of Arkansas Geographic Information System has reviewed the maps and legal descriptions and confirms the eligibility of the study areas C, D, and E under the statute 1440-101. A little bit about city and money. City funds are of two types, general fund and enterprise funds. General fund income is derived primarily from sales tax, state turnback, franchise fees, and very recently a 2.6 mil property tax for the purchase of a communication system for our first responders. Enterprise funds income derives from the ratepayers. Water, sewer, solid waste, and stormwater all are enterprise funds. Enclave study areas C, D, and E have varying degrees of fiscal impact. Areas C and D will have minimal fiscal impact both long and short term. Area D is expected to have some negative impact on the enterprise funds short term, but over the long term, this is expected to level out. Regarding school districts, and my name is on the bottom of the letter for people to call for information, so I have a pretty good idea of what people want to know. So I feel, bear with me, I have included those things in this. Students don't change schools or school districts as a result of annexations. The boundaries of the school districts will remain exactly as they are. With regard to land use and development, subdivision regulations currently apply within the city's adopted planning area. Subdivision regulations would remain in effect. Zoning regulations and building codes would apply to renovation and to new construction, protecting owners' investments. Lawful uses or development underway and existing prior to annexation are, to use a common phrase, grandfathered and may continue until that use is discontinued for 1 year or longer. If any lands are annexed that are being used exclusively for agricultural purposes, The lands may continue to be used for such purposes so long as the owner desires, and the land shall be assessed as agricultural land. And this is very completely covered in the Arkansas statute. Also, if a county issues a permit or approval for construction, operation, or development before a municipal annexation proceeding begins for a project in the area that the municipality intends to annex, the municipality shall honor and give full effect to county permits and approvals on lands to be annexed. Construction-related permit fee waivers for new single-family homes on lands annexed by this ordinance shall be effective for a period of at least 24 months, elapsing no sooner than April 1st, 2018. However, during that period, permits and inspections will be required, but no fees. Hot Springs Code Title 17 regulates property maintenance and housing conditions. Compliance with that code shall be deferred until January 2nd, 2019. Utilities have been an area of question. Water and wastewater cost would be reduced by a third. The City of Hot Springs does not require property owners to connect to the city's water or sewer if they have a properly functioning septic tank system or water well. The state of Arkansas regulates wells and septic tanks, not the City of Hot Springs. If wells or septic tanks fail and are within 300 feet of a water or sewer main, the Arkansas Department of Health will want the owner to connect to city utilities. Fire hydrants are to be separated by no more than 3,000 feet. In many of the areas under consideration, that is not yet the case. Additional hydrants and water lines sufficient to provide fire flow would be installed within 3 years of annexation as required by state law. Currently, annexation study areas C, D, and E property owners are allowed one water meter and one sewer connection per lot of record. Upon annexation, an irrigation meter is allowed, provided that services are available. Developers building subdivisions in the annexed areas are responsible for the cost and construction of water and sewer extensions and connections. Solid waste connection. In addition to residential solid waste pickup service, the city will also provide, at no additional charge, twice yearly large item pickup, known as CAPS, biweekly curbside recycling, and biweekly yard waste collection. City stormwater permits, county stormwater permits, will be replaced at no fee with city permits, but inspection frequency, documentation, and regulations remain subject to current county regulations for the duration of the permit term. Firearms was a big area of question. At this time, firearms discharge within the City of Hot Springs is prohibited. Hunting and target shooting are parts of the ongoing historical and cultural character of rural Garland County and of Arkansas. So as to safely allow continued hunting and target shooting, the board will consider establishing a firearms discharge eligibility area ordinance. The purpose of the firearms discharge eligibility area is simple. Establish standards with which to identify and implement certain districts within which hunting and target shooting can continue in areas annexed to the City of Hot Springs on or after February 18, 2002, while continuing to safeguard public health, safety, and welfare. To accomplish these goals, we propose criteria which are the minimum standards required to recognize such an area. Within a firearms discharge eligibility area, Arkansas Game and Fish regulations and other federal, state, and local regulations will apply, with the exception that Hot Springs Code Title 4, Chapter 11, Section 15 of the Hot Springs Code, which is called Firearms Discharging Within City Limits, will not apply to using specified firearms when discharged. And the two circumstances which would apply are they would have to be on a tract or contiguous tracts totaling 10 acres or more, and more than 150 feet from a residence or occupied building located on another property. And secondly, discharged in a manner not reasonably expected to cause a projectile to cross the boundary of the tract. It is suggested that any annexation ordinance should include a condition establishing firearms discharge eligibility area criteria. That's a hot one. Okay. The following necessary services shall be extended to the annexed area by April 1st, 2020. Solid waste pickup, fire response, police response, water, wastewater, and stormwater, and street maintenance of current county-maintained roads. This ordinance is proposed to be in full force and effect on April 1st, 2017. Lands within Area C shall be assigned to City of Hot Springs Board District 6. Within Enclave Area D, assigned to City of Hot Springs Board District 3. And Enclave Area E shall be assigned to City of Hot Springs Board District 6, according to a map prepared by the city clerk. And in closing, the proposed annexation is an effort by the city to extend its boundaries to encompass actual growth of the city. That concludes the introduction.
Okay, thank you. First we have, and I want to apologize because I may not be able to read all your names correctly, so help me out. When you come to the platform, state your name and your address for our records so they can get it clearly, but I will try on all of these. Richard Sweargard? Sweargard. Okay. Swaggard. Okay. Matthews Drive, right?
Yeah. I'm Nick Swaggart at 174 Matthews Drive. I've been there since 97. I hope this lady has a copy of what she just read today, because it'd be interesting to go back over that, because she covered quite a lot of detail. I personally don't see any advantage of becoming in the city. I like where I'm at, because I'm pretty well secluded. I have most of the amenities, and I followed along quite a bit with what she had to say, but I just don't want to be in the city, because we voted it down twice before since I've been here. It was on the ballot, and it was voted down 2 times before in my section. So I'll yield the floor to anyone else.
Thank you, sir. Bob Driggers.
Could I make a comment? I don't think this was mentioned, but due to the acoustics, the excellent acoustics in this room, consequently, when you have what you think are whispering discussions, very often you can be heard, and sometimes you can be heard, your conversation can be heard audibly. So I'd suggest that please keep it to a whisper, or keep your comments to yourself until such another time, so it doesn't interfere with us hearing what the person has to say. Thank you.
Bob Driggers, number 3 Stonegate. This fellow just mentioned what I'm hearing is a common trend. They see no advantage to being annexed. And I would implore you to give the people the facts. Tell them the real reasons. Larry Williams once came pretty close when he mentioned he didn't want to see the next census come along and we have another decrease in population in this city. It would be embarrassing. And of course, the rush is due to the fact that a bill has been introduced to require allowing the people a vote when you annex. So why don't you go ahead and announce tonight your votes? Everyone here already knows you're going to vote to do this and not allow the public a vote. So why not tell them? Why do you have conflicting events tonight and Central Avenue is blocked? This place is not big enough. You didn't want to have a place big enough, obviously, to let the public be heard properly. I should tell you that we are indeed raising funds for yet another lawsuit because you are not allowing the public a vote. And that's unfortunate that you don't care. It's not really real money you're spending, it's just tax money, right? You don't care what these people say tonight. Your minds are made up. You complain that some of us good government members, by the way, live out of town. But you condone one of your own board members living in Enclave B, not in the city. You deserve to know that thousands consider each of you during this blessed season as the Grinches that stole Christmas. In spite of this season, you have demonstrated you have no heart. You don't care what these people say, what they think. So I hope that you think of it every day during this season. I'm a Grinch. Think about that during the holidays. You're a bunch of Grinches. You should be ashamed. Shame on you.
Mr. Griggers, excuse me. Mr.
No, I'm
Griggers.
sorry, Mr. Foley. We're not going to go back and forth.
I would like to know whether he is in any of the areas to be annexed. If he lives in any of those areas. He's not a city resident, so I'd like to know what area he lives in that's going to be annexed.
Yeah, his address.
That was my point. I live almost as close to the city as does one of your directors, but I'm condemned every time I mention that, or you mention, or your chamber mentions I don't live in the city. I represent a group of people, most of which do live in the city. And you'll probably hear from some of them tonight. I do not, but I'm glad to voice their concerns.
Thank you.
Mr. Tom Zawalski? Zukowski, I'm getting close.
My name is Tom Zukowski. I've been a resident outside the city limits in Garland County for 19 years. I'm here to speak against...
Would you state your address, please?
Oh, my address is 164 Waterview Drive.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak against annexation of C and all the areas, the concept of forced annexation. Late this afternoon, I wrote a email letter to the Board of Directors, and it's brief, and I'd just like to read it and enter it into the record. Dear Board of Directors, why do you lack the moral courage and respect of our community citizens by ignoring their right to decide where they want to live? Or do you really care? Will you continue to do whatever it takes against the people who choose to live in the county outside city limits? I can guess at some answers, but I would like to hear your answers directly. Citizen letters to the editor and voiced comments call your governance behavior immoral, unethical, arrogant, greedy, closed-minded, land-grabbing, unconstitutional, etc. A recent letter called you a bully, and no one likes a bully. While Act 109 provides you an unintended legal path to forced annexation without a vote of the people, you exhibit no concern at all for the basic right to vote. Enclave A is history. Enclave B is in litigation. Enclave C, D, and E are being rushed to annexation before pending legislation halts your land grab without a vote of the people. Are you listening, or do you really not care? I have not seen any recognition or concern for the impact your actions have on our volunteer fire departments. The Lake Hamilton Fire Rescue Department lost $45,000 revenue from the loss of Enclave A property. Enclave B represents an additional potential lost revenue from membership dues of $73,000. That's 24% loss of its revenue, which seems to not raise any measure of concern by city directors. The Morning Star Fire Department and others will be negatively impacted by C, D, and E annexations. All of our fire departments in Garland County have agreements and must work together for the public safety and protection of our total community. They need a fair and equitable revenue base to support timely and capable response to calls for help. This is also about safety. However, the prime issue before us is about the basic right to vote. It's not too late to start to regain the trust and respect of the people. The coming weeks may be your last chance. Sincerely, Tom Zukowski. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, do you live in one of these areas? I don't know that address. Are you in one of the areas? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Zukowski, I got your email.
Okay.
What address?
It's 164 Waterview Drive. I'm not in one of the targeted areas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, James Humphreys.
Pass.
You going to pass? Okay. Mary Bourneville. I will mention that you signed up on the against side, so just for the balance, okay. Yeah.
I'm Mary Bourneville. I live at 113 Foxwood Street. I'm a very angry city resident and a retiring justice. I'm here as a city resident. I sat through 2 previous annexation meetings in which I listened to the fire chief say that there would be no impact whatsoever. They would be able to absorb these people without any additional firefighters, without any additional police, without any additional fire stations, and now we're looking at not 1, but probably 2 new fire stations. So I have to ask, who's paying for that? Are you, the city board members, going to pay for that, or is it going to be the city taxpayers? You sat here and you told those people who were being annexed in Area A that there would not be an ad valorem tax. You, sir, promised me directly that you would not vote for an ad valorem tax. And here we are with a 2.6 ad valorem tax, again, without the vote of the people. We're angry. You're not taking care of the people that currently exist in the city, yet you're willing to bring more people in. You glibly mention a divorce with the county, yet you turn around and force a shotgun marriage with the people who live in that county. Where is the shame in that? You guys should be absolutely ashamed of yourselves. It's appalling what you're doing. $45,000 for the health department that you just cut off. You don't have the funds, so you cut those people out. $2 million in WIC vouchers going to be pushed to the wayside because you won't fund that $45,000. The county's funding theirs. Where's the city stepping up? Where are you in taking care of the people that you currently have right now within the city limits? Shame on you. I'm disgusted with every one of you.
Okay, whoa. Let's keep it cool, please. Randy Wilkinson.
Yes, Randy Wilkinson, 670 Bayshore Drive. I live in the county. Been there approximately 27 years and enjoy living in the county. I see no benefit from going into the city. I'm adamantly opposed to the forced annexation. I'm not opposed to a vote by the people that want to be annexed in. And I'm just curious why you're moving forward with the other annexations when you're still in a lawsuit on B. It just doesn't make sense. On tonight's agenda, on your agenda, on your documents, the lady before mentioned about the physical impact. I did some research on the website, and I saw that on all 3 enclaves, the physical impact is shown as none. I just cannot believe that you can provide adequate police, fire, protection, and lower my water bill without increasing taxes. I just don't believe it. It's obvious, as mentioned before, there's already been a 2.6 ad valorem tax. I was not allowed to vote on the recent election for the open positions on this board. I feel it's unconstitutional that a board that I have zero say in can annex my property without my say-so. This country was formed on a similar circumstance when England was taxing us without any representation. In summary, I feel like any annexation should be by a vote of the public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Robert Bob McCotch. You'll correct my pronunciation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Bob Cook. I live at 121 Oak Point Drive. I have been a property owner in Garland County since 2004 and a taxpayer. I retired here in 2010 from Stuttgart, Arkansas, and I served on the city council there, and I was a retired banker, and I served on numerous committees, statewide, local. So I understand the responsibilities of representation. I also very proudly served in the United States Navy from 1968 to 1972. Then I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and also feel like I spent 4 years of my life defending the rights of the citizens of this country. I find it ironical that my rights under the annexation are being usurped. And I feel like I deserve the right to vote on that. I feel like I deserve the right to explore those benefits of annexation. And I don't feel, and this may be my fault, but I don't feel totally informed, but I will become more informed. I would ask you, as representatives, not of mine, but of representatives of the city, would you please hold this action in abeyance until the law can be amended to provide for a vote by the citizens? Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Fleming.
We don't have nobody for. But it's again.
I'm Mike Fleming. I live at 201 Grand Ridge Terrace. I've lived there since 1984, nearly 33 years. And I moved to the county because I wanted to be in the county. I wanted to be free of some of the regulations that the city has. And it's, my civil rights have already been covered by some of the speakers previous to me, so I'll just go by that and I'll cut to the chase. I don't know if I can ask you guys any questions, but I want to make the fact known that in September of 1990, the city annexed a corridor down Carver Dam Road, and then they took a sharp right and went all the way down Peninsula Drive and completely surrounded Track B. Can anybody tell me why they did that? Yes, sir.
That was a voluntary annexation. That was handled. Am I allowed to do that?
You can. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That was a voluntary annexation. That was done under when Bud Williams was county judge. So the people had petitioned, but then a group of people that lived in that area that is not in the city came to him and said, we don't want to be in the city, without going into some of the procedural things. So they were excluded from that voluntary annexation. But the rest of that area, it was a voluntary annexation. But there's some people came, they approached him. I'm not going to. He's dead. The people that approached him are dead. But that's why it got excluded.
Okay.
Well, I'll accept.
I just lived too long.
Okay,
I was
accept
a young guy then. I was in my 30s.
Well, I've been around here a little while myself, and I do know that when that was annexed in '91, there was a residence on Peninsula Drive that wanted to be mayor of the city of Hot Springs. And that person was elected in 1992 and was reelected after that. And I think it looks kind of funny to my eyes that was kind of gerrymandered in that way so that someone could be running for mayor of the city of Hot Springs. And because of that, everybody in Track B is suffering from it.
Wow.
So I wanted to get that point out. I think that's what really happened.
Okay.
I think that's what really happened.
Let's not. Okay. Let's
Anyway, That's all I got to say.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
And I did want to remind you guys, if you do have questions, go ahead and ask them, and we'll write them down. I think Bill is going to write down the questions that you would like to have answered so that we can get those back to you. So you may ask questions, but we'll answer all of them before the next meeting. Okay, Gary Troutman.
Good evening, Gary Troutman, 451 Lakeland Drive. I find it funny that after Bob Driggers has blamed you all for everything under the sun the past few years, now he blames you because it rained last night. I found that very, very interesting. I spoke to you a couple times last year. I'm in Enclave B. My neighbors unanimously supported being in the city. We were all set to be in the city on April 1st of this year. And thanks to Mr. Pritchett and a couple of his cronies, 8 months later, we're still not receiving police protection, fire protection, and lower insurance premiums that we were hoping for. Forrest Spicer and I attended the Quorum Court meeting a couple weeks ago with an open mind, hoping to hear some valid arguments, and we basically walked into a glorified pep rally, which we discovered a couple minutes in. The mayor happened to be there that night, and probably remember her infamous quote in the paper that accused you all of probably meeting illegally. You didn't see the follow-up quote where she said you probably all needed to be investigated for an ethics violation, which I found
Mr.
completely
Troutman,
appalling.
are you talking about the annexation, or are you talking about other issues?
I'm talking about the annexation.
Okay.
You were at an annexation meeting
And
2
you're
weeks
the
ago.
only one signed up for this, so
That's
hurry
right.
up.
I got 3 minutes, Mayor.
Yeah.
There was a lady there, the first lady that spoke, mentioned that she had 8 cars in her yard. And she did realize that she was grandfathered in and could keep those 8 cars, but she couldn't get any more. I don't care if you live a block off Central Avenue or in the far reaches of the county. That's just being a bad neighbor. That's inconsiderate. So I don't consider that a factor in annexation or not. Finally, I respect most all of these people's passion, but I'd also ask you all to remember there's hundreds, even thousands of people that are not here tonight because the common sense thing is for better fire protection, better police protection, and lower insurance rates. Personally, I've had to leave town a few times on business. There's a patrol car, as I understand, at the mall most evenings. We have had spotty response from the county, with all due respect to the sheriff and their deputies. There's a lot of county to cover. You hear the arguments about the fire and the police can't provide additional protection. What about these patrol cars that are, at far reaches of the county, and 3 or 4 of them at a given time? There's a police car at the mall a mile from my house that cannot respond off Central Avenue because we are not in the city. I'd ask you to consider that. My family was annexed in the late 70s, and our lives didn't change drastically at all. We're happy to be in the city. So I would encourage you all to vote for this measure when the opportunity arises. Thank you.
Okay, Curtis Jeffries.
Good evening. My name's Curtis Jeffries. I'm president of the Baywood Colony Property Owners Association, and I would direct your attention, Mr. Spicer, to a letter from one Ben Arnold, who is a property owner and a lawyer that's part of our group. As a whole, Baywood Colony has existed in the county since 1962, and for 54 years we have enjoyed county services and saw no need for any city services. The property is pristine and a great part of Garland County. It is composed of 28 units that are all property tax paying citizens. Some may live in Hot Springs or in Garland County that own a condo there, but most of us are non-residents. The interesting thing to us is that this seems to be a rush to judgment by the board, in that this annexation notice was delivered right before Thanksgiving, and expected these hearings during the holidays, which gives us no time to prepare. We saw no benefits that accompanied the letter of what joining the city would do for us. We think it's also, in researching, we found that there are pending lawsuits against the city and against annexation. And we also understand that Representative Cozart has pre-filed a bill in the legislature, I think it's House Bill 1018, that would repeal this. So I would, on behalf of our group at Baywood, I would urge you to step back, if you will, and not waste any more money going down a track until these things are settled, and giving these people, the permanent residents here, an opportunity to vote on whether they want to join the city of Hot Springs. That is the American way, and I think each one of you realize that. Thank you very much for your time, Mayor.
Thank you. Mark Sweden, Casey Street.
My name is Mark Sweden. I live at 183 Casey. I also represent 187 Casey, where my nephew lives. We've been in the county since I was a little kid, and that's 60-something years. I cannot see y'all annexing us for the sole reason all it's going to do is raise our taxes, not only triple, maybe even quadruple. And plus, you're not even giving us the right to vote for it, which is wrong. And that's all I got to say.
Sean McBroom.
Merry Christmas. My name's Sean McBroom, 349 Grand Point. I've owned the house since 2005. I've lived there since 2000. Was owned by my uncle since 87. My neighbors across the street on George Street have lived there since the 50s and 60s and been there forever. And we have no problem. Whenever somebody pulls up to my driveway and somebody's there's not a car that they recognize, they call me. As a matter of fact, I have three officers that are neighbors of mine. The whole thing about no fire, no firearms, no. I have a fire pit, and I have to. I really don't see how any of that matters, because the bus is 3 miles from our house. When was the last time any one of you walked 3 miles to get onto a bus? Ever? Even if the bus ride was free. I mean, I don't see why you would put us in the city and then still keep us so far away from everything else, but enforce all the taxes and all the other things that just it's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. And I mean, you guys, I don't know that you guys have your mind made up. I know this. I know this is a serious part of my life today, because I'm a recovering addict alcoholic over with 10/29/2011. And I adamant in this acceptance. I have acceptance, whether or not y'all do this or not. I have acceptance over it. I just really, it's gonna make it that much harder on us. And Why would you do this in the Christmas season on us? I don't understand why y'all would do that to us. Strength to carry out God's will, right? No matter what it is. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sean. Jay. Joseph Haas. Joseph. And it's Burnside Lane, maybe? Pardon?
He said pass.
I'm sorry, I can't read it. I'm so sorry. Are you sure? Okay. Donnie Lane. Is there a Donnie Lane on Corona Court?
I'll pass.
Okay.
The gentleman up here said it all.
Yeah, okay. Jack Bryant? Barrett? Okay.
I've been here since the year 2000. I came here from out west. I've been through an awful lot of these different areas I've lived in a whole lot. I've sent each one of you an email that I think you might have received indicating my concern. The concern is, when we moved here in 2000, I've been up in Wisconsin since then and working at different places. And my property's always been safe when I've been gone. But why hasn't Hot Springs grown? Take a look at yourself. The only progressive operation here is Oaklawn Park. I can speak well to that because that's the world I came out of. But everything else, this city's gone into a time warp. You have purposely pushed businesses away through your pettiness, your lack of a response to good businesses. Look how many places are closed up. Now you want to come to the annexation to try to cover your own inefficiencies. This is really an abuse. Why not back away like a lot of people have said? Take a look at why you're at your point. You want to look good? Well, look good by providing a progressive operation. I came from Reno. They died in Grapevine for many years. And a little place down south called Las Vegas just passed them by. When you sit and you do nothing to make it an attractive place or a progressive place, you're getting to this and you're trying to compensate for it at the expense of the people by annexing us without giving us a chance to express the beliefs. When I talked to you this morning, Lance, we had a very pleasant conversation. The thing is, how would I approach this? I really don't know. However, my concern is I have always in my entire life refused to be intimidated, and that's exactly what you're doing. Stepping all over us by not giving us the right to make the decision. And subsequently, it is going to end up in a courtroom. It has to end up in a courtroom. If nothing else, I think it should be in the federal courts. And I'm very supportive of that because I like to think that you haven't made up your minds. But we all know that you have because this is what you've got to do because you think it's the right thing to do, which is wrong because you're compensating for the wrongs that you've done in the past. With that, I think I'll sit down and shut my mouth.
Sir, I'm sorry I didn't get your address.
110 Grand Ridge Terrace. Matter of fact, I didn't know I was sitting next to my neighbor.
Oh, wow. Okay, and if you guys don't have the addresses, we have them all right here, so if you need them. Skip Houston.
Skip Houston, 155 Five Point Circle. We're in Enclave B, still in the county, and hope to stay that way. I just wanted to talk for a minute, and as much, not so much to the directors and the mayor, because you all are familiar with this, but to the people here that may be at their first experience with annexation process about Act 109 and what it says. That's the enabling legislation under which these annexations are being contemplated and made. Act 109 is posted on the city's website, says that situations in which the incorporated limits of a municipality have surrounded an unincorporated area on only three sides, because the fourth side is a boundary line with another state, a military base, a state park, or a national forest, a lake, or a river. One of the dictionary definitions of side is one of the surfaces forming the outside of or bounding a thing, or one of the lines bounding a geometric figure. Most people, that side and sides are a common term. It's in common usage. Most people would commonly understand what those terms mean if you ask them. And we don't say that this thing has to be exactly square, as some of the attorneys have argued, but the intent of the legislators that I've talked to, and I talked twice with Senator Files last year, or the first of this year, I guess, and the second time I called, he said, "I remember you, Skip." He said, "You're the one guy from Hot Springs that called me that didn't yell at me about it." I appreciated that. Wasn't he pointing yelling at him about it? I wanted to ask what his intention was, though. And he and most of the legislators that we've had any contact with thought in terms of a small area, perhaps a small subdivision, maybe 20, 30, 40 acres, something like that, certainly not square miles. And I know that while a local judge has ruled to the effect that the number of sides doesn't really matter, I'm not here to discuss the litigation ongoing or anything like that. But just from a common sense standpoint, the clock up there covers the area of Tract B of Enclave C. Kind of confusingly, A and B make up C. But the enclave, or the Tract B, is the area up behind the clock there. And that does pretty much fit the distinction. It's surrounded on three sides by the city, and people would more or less probably say the fourth side was the lake. Now, Tract A is at best surrounded on only two sides and just barely on the south. As you can see, that squiggle along there is mostly on the east side of it there. And the fact is, there's still that troubling word side, as in one side. And if any part of the enclave is disqualified from annexation, the entire enclave is disqualified. Does that sound legal argument? I don't know. It can be made. But is it a fact that most people looking at that would say you're not surrounded on three sides by the lake? By the property, by the county, the city, and then the other side by the lake. I'll quit at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. George Pritchett.
George Pritchett, 207 Crestwood. I'm a city resident. I want to thank Mr. Gary Troutman for mentioning the fact that we've stopped some things. I wonder when Mr. Troutman bought his property, why he bought out in the county if he wanted to be in the city. I stood at this very podium in this very room and called out someone a few years ago that wanted to be mayor of the city of Hot Springs. But the people did not cooperate between the city limits and the home he built out on the east side. He was not eligible to be mayor of the city of Hot Springs unless that happened. It did not happen. Now here we are today trying to force people in. I stood in this room and spoke and heard the fire chief speak from this podium when he said, "We need more fire stations if we're going to take on any more." I've since heard him say that we're going to take in more. I've been assigned that I have to figure out a program, and we've got one, and we're going to be able to protect everybody. I think Ms. Selman used the words adequate protection. I would like to be certain that we have adequate protection for the people inside of the city with the number of firemen that we have and the number of policemen we have. Do we have too many to service the city now? Because we can take on 20% more approximately if we take on all of these things, and we can stretch those services. So I really do wonder exactly where we're going. I do not appreciate the fact that my services, in my opinion, of the 11 properties I own in the city, are likely to be diluted by what the city is doing here. Now, as far as voting, it would make sense if you let the people vote. I suspect that at least one of these areas would pass. I suspect that two would fail. But no one will ever know that because we don't want the people to vote. Now, you failed 11 times. 11 times since, I believe, 98, if I'm correct. And I think you would fail at least 2 out of 3 of these and possibly all 3. What is the rush? Why are we doing this? Why do we need to do this right now? We can't even get our population signs right. At one end of the city, it says 35,750, and whoever counted the other side, it's only 35,193. Do you know that 1970 and 75 and 80 and 85 and 90 and 95 and 2000 and 2005 and 2010, 2015, It's still essentially what it was in 1970, folks. Thank you.
Steve Fox. I'll remind everybody to state your name and your
Fox,
address.
300 Grand Point Drive.
Thank you.
We don't need in the city because you can't take care of what you got now. Thank you.
Moyer. Moy? Emma. You'll correct me when you get here.
Tim Moyer. I live at 104 Meadow Lake Drive.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the city manager a question. How many fire hydrants additional are you going to need for all these annexations? Do you know? How many?
Yeah, we'll write it down and figure it out. Mr. Bill right there will.
I bet it's going to be a bunch, and they're not cheap. That's one thing right there. 3 years, you're going to put these all in. Where's additional labor, manpower for them? You ain't got it now. You're not going to have it in 3 years. The issues that I'm here tonight to discuss, you're stealing from us. You're not giving us a chance to vote. You're stealing our property, straight up. Okay? If you were decent about it, you'd put it to a vote. Straight up. There's no other way to say it nicely. It's just anywhere else you go, if you're going to do this, you put it to the people and you let them vote on it. Okay? The other issues that you have is how would you people like to live in the city and tomorrow the county came to you and said, you're moving to the county. And that's the way when you vote on this, you need to be looking at it. How would you like it if somebody came to you and said, you're going to the county tomorrow? I moved to the county for a reason. I'd like to stay there. Okay? There's no reason for this whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Brown.
Well, I'm glad to see all my neighbors are here. I'm Tom Brown. I live at 100 Grand Ridge Terrace, and Walgreens decided many years ago that I needed to move to Arkansas from Louisiana, where I was residing. And I looked around Hot Springs for several years and decided to live in the county. When my grandparents moved here 300 years ago from England, they did something that required people to inevitably have the right to vote in this country. Several of them signed the Declaration of Independence, two of them being John Adams and one of them Samuel Adams. Samuel Adams didn't like taxation without representation. Anybody ever heard of the Boston Tea Party? Yeah. Well, they had something to do with that. And I just think it's real important that it ought to be one man, one vote in this place where we live. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pam DeYoung. Pamela.
Hello, my name's Pamela DeYoung. I live at 244 Lake Hamilton Drive. My parents and my family moved down here when I was 8 years old. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with Willow Beach Resort, but that's where I grew up. My parents own that. We just sold it in 1999 because my dad passed away. But we've always been in the county. That's always been the county, even though the mall decided to come in there. That used to be a driving range. But My dad voted against this. He was able to vote because this is the first time y'all have never had the people able to vote on it. And y'all have lost every time in the past. And I just don't think it's right that with her criteria of what we're going to have to change from doing in the county, where I like burning my leaves whenever I want in my ditch. Okay, smoke out the neighbors that you don't like. Okay, make sure the wind's going the right way. You know, but I like doing that. And the condos right next to me, Willow Beach condos, they chose to be in the city. They're the only ones in the city. And my volunteer fire department, they're great. They're a lot faster than the city is. And you all don't have anything to offer us that live in the county, anything that we don't already have. You put stormwater on our water bills, but you had to take that off in July because you thought we were going to be in the city since I'm in Enclave B. And I just think y'all are rushing to it. And I don't think it's fair that Enclave A didn't have a say in anything. And there's too many people that live in the county for you all not to let us vote. I know most of y'all have your minds made up already. So does everybody else. But it's just fair that we get to vote. Since y'all make the decisions for everybody in the city plus the county. So whatever y'all decide on, it affects us in the county. And we don't even have a say-so in it. So that's not fair there. So at least we should have the ability and be able to put this to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the last one we have for Enclave. That was C, right? And we're going to break for just a few minutes, and let those who have signed up for the next Enclave that live in there, or if you've signed up for that, don't leave. But if we will break for about 5 or 6 minutes, 10 minutes, and let those come in that have signed up. There's quite a few that have signed up on that.
Yeah.
Are we going to close it? Okay.
Recess.
Hereby close this hearing.
I need Larry.
everyone inside that is for Area D? Area D. All inside? Everybody that signed up? Okay.
Close the door, man.
Okay, I hereby call this hearing, public hearing, to order. Okay.
Meeting's been called to order.
Excuse me. Meeting is called to order, please. Okay. I now call the public hearing to order. This is a public hearing on Enclave Study D. Is that it? Okay. I want to welcome all of you here tonight and thank all of those who have come to address the issues on tonight's agenda. But first of all, I want to express my personal apology, mine, not the apology of the board, but my personal apology to you and your families that you had to be here tonight. When it came before us, I did vote for this date for the first enclave, but I voted no on the other two for December the 5th. I want to express my apology to you and your families that you had to be here tonight. This is the time of year that each of you should be enjoying family and friends and watching or participating in the Christmas parade, shopping or attending parties or baking cookies. So I want to apologize for the governmental intrusion of your private lives and your neighborhoods during the holiday season. The timing set for this hearing is very unfortunate because this time of year is already an emotionally charged season due to many things such as family relationships, financial pressures, and missing family members who are no longer with us to celebrate, such as my son who was killed 1 year ago this week, and I had much rather be at the Christmas parade with his children. So I'm making that statement again. Some of you heard it. But I am only making my personal statement. This is not from anyone else on the board. And again, I apologize. Now we have a few guidelines for the hearing. This is a public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is to hear input and comments from residents and property owners of Area D, as well as citizens of Hot Springs. We will adhere to our 3-minute limit for each person signed up to speak. There are many individuals here to speak, and not everyone has the same opinion. I am requesting that we all treat one another with civility and mutual respect. Please refrain from any outburst, cheering, jeering, clapping, booing, whatever. It would appear that we are all here going to be here for quite a while, and interruptions will only delay the next speaker's opportunity to be heard. If a previous speaker has already addressed the same points or concerns that you have, please consider yielding the floor to the next speaker. There will be no vote on this issue tonight. There is not time for debate or a discussion. If there are any questions raised by any of the speakers, we will note them and provide a full response prior to the board taking any action on this matter. The board will not debate on these issues tonight. Planning and Development Director Kathy Selman will give an introduction, and then we will hear from those who have signed up to speak at this public hearing. And again, thank you so very much for being here tonight.
I think Kathy had given a broad overall at the beginning of the public hearing.
Pretty much takes care of it, Mayor. I think she's already spoken
but new people are here that didn't hear that.
I think they're hopefully in the lobby.
Broadcasted it.
Everybody heard it out there. Okay, we will go. Reggie, not Cowan, but Clow. We won't confuse you anymore, Reggie. There are two Reggies.
They've met each other now, though.
Yeah, now you know Reggie.
I figured out who was the good one and the bad one. Actually, he's a pretty good guy. My name is Reggie Clow, 251 Bayou Point. I'm not going to take a lot of time. There's been a lot of points made here tonight that are very legitimate and very eye-opening. You guys seem to be pushing forward at a really high rate of speed for a very, it really bothers me to see that this board of directors is changing the lives of so many people without their ability to have a say in it. And I understand the reason why you're allowed to do that. But is this really the way that you want to be viewed by the people of your community? Is this the way that you want to be greeted in a grocery store when somebody in this audience is affected by this so tremendously that they would stand up here and cry as a grown man or a grown woman? I think that you have to make a moral judgment about what you're doing here. And it's really hard for me to believe that the way that you're pushing forward here, the way that you're looking over there, not looking at me, kind of concerns me. That's a body language thing that I can't get a hold of very well, because I've seen it. You guys have displayed it to several people who have spoke up here tonight. It doesn't seem like you really care. So I want you to step back and think about this. I'm going to leave you with this one thought. If these were your children, if these were your parents, and the city was doing this to them, would you be fighting mad for your children? For your parents? Yes, you would. You'd come up here and you'd fight tooth and toenail for their right. You can't make me believe that you wouldn't do that. I think that the last presidential election is proof that most of the people in this country are tired of big government stomping on them. They're tired of people in career political positions taking the stance that they take, that they don't really have any obligation to the public. They just do what they want to do. And that's kind of how you guys are coming across. Change that. Do it in a different way to where you look like you really do care for your community, instead of just forcing upon them the things that you feel like you should be doing now. Just because you can doesn't always mean you should. Thank you.
Thank you. Partain, Sarah Dunn. I'm sorry. Just tell us and pull that down so you can speak into it in your address.
My name is Cedron Partain. I live at 1016 Crystal Hill Road, but the property that I own, along with 5 more family members, 20 acres, is on Ella Drive. And my grandfather came here and was sort of a founding father here. They helped found Hot Springs, and the railroad department came in and took property away from him, and he was pushed off, but he refused to leave till his sick daughter did finally die. So I know how when people make up their mind to do something, whether it's right or not, they will go ahead and do it. But people like him will stand up and let you know that they're not moving until they absolutely have to, or because maybe a child dies because they're sick. And another thing that has not been, I agree with everything. If y'all want to put a vote to this and the people agree to it, fine. This is still America. It's not become another place yet. It is still America. So if y'all want to put a vote to it and the majority rules, that's fine. But y'all may stop and think about this tonight when you go home. Y'all may be committing political suicide. This may be your last term.
Okay. Michael Crawford.
Good evening, Mayor and Directors. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. Unfortunately, you've made the apology twice about holding these hearings during the holiday season, and I don't think that's a very meaningful apology. I think it was very much calculated by you folks to have us brought down here at Thanksgiving for your first vote and for Christmas for your second vote, and we all have things we should and could be doing out there at the Christmas parade or whatever, but instead we're pushing this through, and you know it's not an accident.
Let me make it real clear. None of the rest of them, that's not their apology. That was mine.
I understand. They should be apologizing too, and we shouldn't be here tonight. You could have done this in January or February, but the reason you don't want to do it then is because you know the legislature's fixing to come back and fix this problem, and you know it needs fixing. And I don't know all of you, but I know you, Larry, and you know this isn't right. Everybody in this room knows it's not right. If you took a show of hands, we didn't come here to support this. We didn't set this agenda. You did. You're the reason this is happening. And so if there is any benefit that may happen to this, if we all get brought into this annex, we'll all have votes and we'll all have new directors. Now, I'm in D. I live at 144 Lazy Lane. My wife and I lived in the city for 10 years. We chose to move out of the city intentionally chose to move to our home with 2 acres where we could run dogs and build fires and do what we wanted. Now, you tell me we're going to be in the city again. I understand you can't, and she announced you can't take my school district, but you know this is step 1 for changing school districts. That'll be the next thing that happens. And so what'll happen is all these neighborhoods on all this lake that have been here long before any of you were ever anything in this town are going to be torn apart and put into building fences and cutting your grass. I'll have the grass police out at my house now. It's just absurd. We live in the county. We choose to live in the county. And so ultimately, I would just share a few things with you. No one wants this. No one wants this. Not the residents that live in these enclaves. Not even the people in the city want this. The citizens, the elected officials don't want it. Hey, are you listening? All those people that go to the legislature, they don't want this either. The quorum court, they don't want this. The county judge, no one wants this. I didn't hear any consideration when she read the report of how it was going to affect people as to how many volunteer fire department dues are going to disappear and how we're going to be left in those areas with less protection. Brian, I read your brief today. You had the audacity to tell the Supreme Court that my values are going to improve when I'm in the city. You know that's a lie. Everyone in here knows. Every realtor knows that's a lie. You're not going to improve the value of my land. In fact, my lot, when you finish with your set-offs, I'm not even going to be able to build on my other lot. It's absurd. So argue as you will and hold a straight face. Oh, we're doing this for the city. But it doesn't even help the city. It waters down the very few citizen services you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, C.R. Edmonds? Erdman.
My name is Craig Erdman. I live at 195 Donda Lane in the county. My question, a lot of people have mentioned points that I make too, but the one thing I'd like to have answered is that I see a bill in the regular session in 2005 by Senators Madison, Brisby, Taylor, and Holt, and an amendment by Senator Files and Boyd from Fort Smith, Arkansas. How does that apply to Garland County? I don't understand that. You can call me a fool. I'm from Louisiana. I just don't see how it applies. It was meant for Fort Smith, not for Garland County. Thank you.
Barbara Ekman? Erdman?
Barbara Erdman, 195 Donda Lane. We moved up here in 2010. We are post-Katrina people. We went through Katrina, and that was disgusting. We thought it was a safe place. I'd been here as a child. I loved Hot Springs. I loved camping. I loved the people. I love everything. What I don't like is you people. Because you want to take my county section and make it into city. That's why I left New Orleans, to get out of the city, to be in the county. And let me say this. Y'all are little itty-bitty-bitty fish in a huge pond. And if you ever go to run again, I will be out there saying, don't vote for you. You want money? There's plenty of places to cut money. Let's start with salaries. Thank you.
Pat Parker.
Good afternoon. My name is Pat Parker. I live at 300 Parker Point. I've had property in that area for over 50 years, and I've owned houses. One time, I think I had 4 houses in Hot Springs. I was going to give all my time to Cliff Jackson, but he can't say what he's got to say in 6 minutes, let alone 3 minutes. I want to thank you, Mayor, for your kind words. I know that was heartfelt, and we heard it. I just wanted you to know that. But I also wanted you to hear, we that live in the county are kind of like rogues. We don't want rules. We don't want to be told when to mow our yard or not to shoot a rabbit when it's out eating. When I plant something in the ground in my gardens and animals come eat it, I'm going to shoot them. And I'm a law-abiding citizen. That changes my lifestyle. It's a whole different way of life. I don't want to break laws. I've spent a lifetime of service to this community. And to come back and have this, can you hear these people? Really? Is it that important for y'all to have a few more votes that you can have, or on the signs to be growing like that? I grew up in this town when you walked into a restaurant and there were slot machines in all the restaurants that came by. That there was houses of ill repute with signs on them outside. This town has changed. But you know what? It's a unique town, and that's what Hot Springs is special. You go around to all these other small towns in Arkansas, and you tell them you're from Hot Springs, and you watch their eyes light up. They all want to live here. And it's not just within the city limits. It's the whole environment, because anybody wants to live in the city limits, they can live in the city limits. But anybody that doesn't want that confinement and they want to have more freedom, they can live out on the lakes, or they can live out in the woods. Give them that opportunity, because when does it stop? When does the next rule come up and say, if we've got a timber access road over here and they pave it, that means we can go out and take out up to that? It just doesn't stop. And again, I've talked longer than I meant to, and I'll give whatever time I got left to Cliff Jackson.
Can I ask Mr. Parker a question?
We're not supposed to be doing that.
Well, it's a softball. Is Parker Point named after your family?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Randy Cart.
Hi there. I live at 110 Bayou Point, and y'all got things going on in this city that I don't think my grandpa ever expected to happen. And he bought the property because it was in the county, and he got away from Los Angeles and to be in the natural state back when Clinton was in his full reign. And pretty interesting living across the lake from where I guess his stepfather lived. Anyway, I really don't want to see the taxes climb up and be cityfied in my little piece of property there. It's only like 3.5 acres, and like the guy behind me, he's just said something's out there bugging his garden. He wants to eliminate it in his way, and which, I'm sure he does it safely, and I do and would also. And anyway, I moved from California to be out here with my grandfolks and my mother, and we love it here. Love Arkansas, the natural state in it. It's coming from L.A., Hermosa Beach, where my grandfather was. It's like, I always wondered, why would he leave that big money-making industry, which he was in apartment buildings down there, and why would he come clear back here? And then once I got back here, I knew, and I was like, I'm home.
Thank you. George Pritchett.
While I was out in the hall, I thought about moving to the county, but I still reside at 207 Crestwood in Hot Springs. While I was out in the hall listening to some people, one of them said to me, George, where's those thousands of people that Mr. Troutman wanted to talk about that support coming into the city? Might point out that when you look at your number and the number we had previously is 898 people. I think here tonight we probably have about 200. We've had over 3, and he's right. There's several hundred out there that I think some of them could, but they did not have the passion. They did not make the effort. They did not draft a petition. They did not go to the county judge and come to the city and say, please let us in the city. They did not. So I suspect that at least half of them don't care, don't want to be in the city, don't need to be in the city, have no desire to be in the city. But I do respect Mr. Troutman's opinion. Y'all have a responsibility to the citizens in our community. That includes all of Garland County. You want to devastate the volunteer fire departments. When it's one of your friends or relatives that might burn to death in a fire because they don't have the resources, the money, and can't respond, that's beyond what you take after you've devastated them by taking these areas and costing them $100,000 or $50,000. The mayor lost her son last year on 70 East. If we take 25, 50, maybe more away from the Morning Star Fire Department, and you're the one that's out there on 70 East, you know, our A&P, they won't even let their cars drive out there, but I've seen some city vehicles going that way. So if that happens and it's one of your relatives, and Morning Star Fire Department is half the size it is today, and they die while you're waiting, that might be on your all's back a little bit, because I don't know what the plan is to cover 70 East after you do this. I don't know what the plan is to cover the road to the village when that happens. So I might mention, we talked about from 70 to now, our population hasn't changed, volunteer fire department revenue. I will tell you that insurance rates have more to do with your zip code than they do whether you live inside or outside of the city. It's a nominal amount of difference. We are going to lower water and sewer rates. I do wonder what the financial impact is in each of these enclaves, and I ask you to tell us in the meeting on 12/20 what the financial impact of C and D and E is, because last year it was a negative when we began on A, and you sent them back to the drawing board, and based on a series of assumptions and estimates. Isn't that great? That's what I use when I go to Oakland. What I bet on, it came back a plus. Thank you.
Okay. Donald Stafford.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Don Stanford. My house is at 435 Lockhaven Point, which is part of the Enclave Study Area D. And I also own 10.5 acres of undeveloped land behind the house that's clearly and obviously a part of the county and has been. I've owned that property since 1987. It's been in my family since 1964, which is older than a good number of people in this room. And I hear a representative of the city talk about 1997, a law, and 2011, something happening, and fiscal strategy, and what I'm hearing from people that I'm coming to know tonight, Reggie and a lady and Pat Parker, is that there's an attempt at encroachment of power over us in the county by a city and over people who don't want or need that control. And it's really for the people to decide whether they should be part of the city. I thank you for your hearing me, and my neighbor Rocky White's going to speak in a minute. Thank you.
Thomas Cooper.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Cooper, and I have approximately 7 acres between Parker Point and Lazy Lane. I'd like to, outside of echoing all the other comments that they've made, I just have one question. And that is, what is the increased revenue from all these enclaves? I'm sure y'all have done the impact studies, and I'm sure you've done the feasibility studies to give us this information. That's my question. Does anybody have that?
They'll write it down and get back with you. They'll let you know.
They've looked at it for, obviously, months to try to come to this point, to the reason why they really want this property to include it in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Wilson.
Good evening. Moved here from Fort Smith, semi-retired. I'm probably a novice in this room. I've only lived at my property at 213 Parker Point, thank you, Pat, for a year and a half. And got my letter a week or so ago, and it's hard to grasp what you're doing. In fact, I'm floored. I had no idea something like this was what you're calling legal. But boy, have you poked a bear in the eye. Have you stirred up a hornet's nest. I mean, you could send someone over to mow my yard and trim my hedges, and I still can't see the advantages of being a city resident. I've already been approached by attorneys. I can't believe the city wants to go down this road, experience class action lawsuits, have a black eye on the city, which is already happening, and which has been talked about all over the state of Arkansas, and will be talked more about. I'm going to close it right there for fear I may say something I don't want to say. But gosh, how do you morally, ethically can take people's land without them being able to vote on it? That floors me. And gosh, whose idea was this to begin with? Thank you.
J. Rocky White.
Jay is on the board. My name is Rocky. If you ever ask for Jay, he's never there. I live at 431 Lock Haven Point. This is a tale of two cities. In 1963 through 67, I was in a college town called Conway. Conway had 3 colleges, still have 3 colleges, known as a college town. In 1963, the population of Conway was around 13,000. The population of Hot Springs was around 30,000. Hasn't changed. Why is that? One of the things, of course, we know is transportation. They just finished 6 lanes back and forth from Little Rock to Conway, and the proximity to Little Rock. Maybe that's part of it. We're still looking for 2 lanes each direction from here to Benton. Hadn't happened yet. Why is all of this? What has Conway got that Hot Springs hasn't got? Their population now is roughly 60 to 80,000. They have learned something that we haven't learned. What is it? Here is my philosophy on that. Conway has picked up a way of doing things like, what can we do for you to bring you into our city? We have businesses. What can we do for you? We have a team. What can we do for you? Do you need more transportation? Do you need more substructure? Do you need more help? Whereas I've lived here since 1995, and I married my wife, who's been here since she was born, and I'm not going to tell you how old she is. The philosophy that I see in the city of Hot Springs, and it's been here a long time, instead of what can I do for you, the philosophy I see is what's in it for me. Thank you.
Skip Houston again.
Skip Houston, 155 Five Point Circle, still in Garland County, still in Enclave B, thank God. Enclave D is kind of an unusual enclave, and if you've been out there, it's only got about 4 roads going in and out. I drove some of those the other day because I was curious about that area. I know a few people out there, but I really never had driven through it much. Only 2 of them, Bayou Point and Lock Haven Road, connect, so it's pretty much one of the roads is a little more than a dirt trail going in there. And it's kind of a strange mix of topography. It's got a number of large tracts of undeveloped land, and some of those wouldn't lend themselves to easy building. Some areas even along the lakeshore that wouldn't be the best lake sites, perhaps. But it does have some of those lakefront lots that the city seems to covet with the high property values and all that. And then there's those troubling sides I mentioned, and I'm not going to talk about sides all night, but I am going to mention again that if you look at that map and the part up here kind of comes out like this and curves back in along Weston Road, it's hard to argue that the city does more than border it on the north and the east. The city limits does follow that curve, but it's pretty hard to argue that any part of the south side is bounded by the city. So if you go back to, again, the Municipal League attorneys made the case. They said, well, you're saying we have to be a rectangle or a polygon or something. No, we're not saying that at all. Anybody that looks at that, again, side and sides is words that are commonly used, common words. Most people the average person would probably say, yeah, that looks like there's one side there on the lake, there's another side on the lake, there's couple of sides that might be the city, certainly the east and the north. But, I've talked with perhaps 100 people in the last couple of weeks about this, and from all three enclaves, and some that are from Enclave B that I live in. There's some of those here tonight, too. But all of them are opposed to this, and it's for some of the same reasons. I don't need to repeat the reasons that have been stated already. And we're even, we've stated before, we're willing to let the city residents vote as long as we get to vote and let the majority rule. And certainly we're outnumbered by the city residents, but there's reasons like George Pritchett mentioned of dilution of services and various reasons like that. And people just, from a fairness standpoint, feel like, well, you ought to have the right to vote on where you live in a situation like that. I'm reminded there was a fellow one time that said that a lot of people's minds were like concrete, that they were thoroughly mixed up and permanently set. And as I address these people, and no disrespect intended to you directors or certainly to Mayor Carney or the city manager, but I feel like that's what we're doing. A public hearing implies some listening going on. And I don't see a lot of listening. I see a lot of blank faces just kind of tolerating our viewpoints. Thank you very much.
Cliff Jackson.
All right, I want to give my address first so my time doesn't start. I'm at 217 Parker Point, as Pat Parker said, named after him. So you spell it Pointe, P-O-I-N-T-E, because if you're conceited enough to name a street after yourself, you're going to put an E on it, right, Pat? I want to tell y'all a little story. In 1970, my brother, out of college, moved here, and he became the head of employment security in Hot Springs, where he remained for a number of years. He bought a little house out east of Hot Springs on Spring Street, off Spring Street. At some point, he moved, transferred to Mena as head of employment security there, then to Malvern, then to Pine Bluff. He rented the house for a while. Ultimately, my retirement plan bought it. I then sold it on a contract of sale to some folks. Well, a couple of years ago, I got the property back because the guy let it deteriorate and it ran down. When my brother bought this house 50 years ago, as far as he knew, it was in the county. As far as the people he bought it from knew, he was in the county. All the neighbors thought they were in the county. He would call the city, try to get the road, which was dirt, graded. The city would not do it because it's in the county. He had no water, no city sewer, no city fire protection. Neither did I, or my retirement plan during all the time that I owned this. So I'm sitting at home a couple of 3 weeks ago, and the doorbell rings, and I get a certified letter from the city saying, we're going to cite you for a criminal citation for this property. Well, I'd already been trying to give the property away to a black church, friends of mine, Living Waters Church of God in Christ, as a parsonage. I tried it, but my retirement plan owned it. I've got a fiduciary duty to my retirement plan, so I couldn't give it away. My tax lawyer said, well, I had to back off that. So I get this notice. So I come down, I find out the city's right. We're in the city. So I said, fine. I'd already had some guys that said, who worked for me, I said, go over there and tear this thing down. Let's just tear it down because I'm going to give it to the church. All right, so that's where we sat. I had several conversations with planning and development, and the last thing I said to her, and she said to me, was this: all right, you call me in a couple of weeks. That's because Brother Withers was going to be gone for 2 or 3 weeks out of state to a national convention. He was trying to get a little money together because I felt I had to get a little money for my retirement plan because I got a deal arm's length. But I said to planning and development, but if this doesn't work, I'm going to give it to them. You don't have to worry about that. Then, a couple of weeks ago, I'm sitting there minding my own business. The doorbell rings, and I get this criminal citation. I have gone 70 years without being labeled a criminal until the city of Hot Springs labeled me a criminal.
Okay. 54 seconds. Hurry.
Lance, I hope you have taken care of it. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Red.
Good evening, Mayor and City Board. My name is Kevin Red. I'm at 192 Donda Lane. I've been a lifelong resident of Garland County, and it's after 9 p.m. in the evening. This is the last thing I wanted to do today. I didn't want to be here. I'm here because it's the right thing, and I want to voice my opinion that you're doing the wrong thing. What you should do is the right thing, is put this to a vote. I'm not going to add too much more to this. There's not a lot. There's plenty of facts and people who have studied this a lot more than I have. But earlier this evening, I've got a couple questions. Earlier this evening, there was a gentleman speaking against the annexation of Area C, and he asked you how many fire hydrants you would need to bring it up to code. Do you have that number?
Yes. We do have the number? Yes. Okay.
Can you tell me?
Can you tell me? No.
Do you have?
We'll answer those as we go through our fact sheet.
Okay, if you have the fire hydrants, you also have the budget. Could you please tell me the budget? What the expenses would be to provide the services, to bring it up to city services?
I don't think they're going to tell you anything tonight. You can ask the questions, and they will get it answered and back to you.
Do you have a budget?
Just yes or no. Do you have a budget for this?
Do you know the expense, what it's going to cost to bring this area up to code?
Oh, we're having no responses.
Okay, this is taking
Sorry,
too
Kevin.
long to answer. You're going to vote in 2 weeks without our choice to bring this area into the city, and it's going to provide additional expense, and you don't have an answer. You don't have a plan. So if a businessman is going to bring on or provide additional services or a new product, he counts the cost and knows the expense and knows how much revenue he needs to cover that. And you don't have the answers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Rhonda Cravens, you going to pass? Okay. That would be it for Area D. So we will take a break, and those people who have signed up for the next area, or if you have signed up, just stay right here. I don't think we need 10 minutes, do we? Can we do it in 5 and ask those people? Oh, and depending on the line at the bathroom. Okay, we'll do 10.
Yeah, bro.
We are adjourned on this one.
That way. And I'm looking right in. There are some really. And I still didn't turn.
Hello? Hello? It's on, but it's not on. It's on, but there's no.
We live?
Are we live? Are we live?
Yes.
Can you hear us? Okay. I will hereby call this public hearing to order. Okay. We are in session again. I have a few instructions to read for you. First of all, I want to thank you for being here. Thank all of you for coming. And here is the rules. This is a public hearing on Enclave Study Area E. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear input and comments from residents and property owners of Area E, as well as citizens of Hot Springs. We will adhere to our 3-minute limit for each person signed up to speak. There are many individuals here to speak, and not everyone has the same opinion. I am requesting that we all treat one another with civility and mutual respect. Please refrain from any outburst, cheering, jeering, clapping, or booing. And it would appear that we are all going to be here for quite a bit more time because we have a lot of people signed up for this one. So interruptions will only delay the next speaker's opportunity to be heard. If a previous speaker has already addressed the same points or concerns that you have, please consider yielding the floor to the next speaker. There will be no vote on this issue tonight. This is not the time for debate or interrogation. And I also might put in there, we will accept your questions, but we are instructed not to have discussion tonight. This is just for a hearing. So when you ask your questions, they are written down, and we will answer those and put all of that back on the website so that you can look it up on the website for the city to get all those questions answered. And if you have other questions, feel free to call the city if there's something that wasn't answered in those questions. We will make a note of all of them, provide a full response before the board taking any action on this matter. The board will not debate. Planning and Development Director Kathy Selman will give an introduction, which she already gave, and hopefully all of you heard it on the closed circuit TVs that we have outside. And now we will hear from those who have signed up to speak for this public hearing. And I want to thank you. I should have done it for the two other groups. Y'all have been awesome. You've been so nice. And we appreciate the civility of the group and the way in which you have addressed the board. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here again. I want to thank all of our staff also for being here, and our police and firemen for keeping us safe. And thank all of you for being here tonight. We will start with Sheila, and I apologize to the other groups because I'm not real good with these names. I'm from Georgia, and we don't have these other names that are really long, and we're just Smith and Jones. So if I don't get your name right, please correct me when you come to the platform. Tell us your name and your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Sheila Kalamoski. Oh, would you say your name for me so I'll know? Kalinowski. Okay, thank you, Sheila. Okay, Jim Davis.
Jim Davis, 327 Utopia Way. Just a couple of basic questions. First off, which I realized a while ago, we weren't allowed to vote for you guys because we don't live in the city. But I find it really strange that you guys mailed this the day after the general election, when we could have told people that we know in town not to vote for y'all, especially number 6, because you would be who's in charge of us. The main thing I have with this, other than I don't want to be in the city, bought property in the county, have no desire to have to do city things. I own a business here in town, so I had to follow city rules here. Nothing against the police department and fire department. They're great. Always have been, always will be. I've dealt with Director Ramick years ago on a problem we had with a teenage nightclub that was open next to our store, and we got that taken care of. My main thing is, it says in that Rule 109, 2 sides, or 3 sides must be surrounded by the city, 1 side by water, etc. Explain to me, when you have basically a square, 2 sides of it are water, how in the hell do you come up with 3 sides? Basic thing. I mean, I learned that in elementary school. It takes 4 sides to make a square. That's a square. and there's only 2 sides of it that are in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana Hutto.
Good evening. I'm Dana Hotho. I live at 470 Shady Heights, and I'll be speaking on behalf of my husband, Vince, and I, who couldn't be here tonight. I lived within the city limits from 1989 to 2006 and loved it. I loved living in the city. It fit my lifestyle and it fit my needs for that period of time in my life. But then in 2005, I married Vince Hotho. We lived in an R2 subdivision in District 6 off Bel Air. From the time we got married, we had a problem. We had 3 children between the 2 of us, and we had a 3-bedroom house, and we needed another bedroom. But we couldn't add on to our house because we lived in an R2 subdivision and we could not add a bedroom to meet the setbacks within our zone. I was very much aware of the rules and the regulations of the city of Hot Springs because I served 2 terms as a planning commissioner and 1 term as a member of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Now, I realized at that time I could have gone before the Board of Zoning Adjustment and asked for an exception on my setbacks. But we felt, Vince and I, at the time, we had other issues with the city that also didn't fit our needs, and so we didn't pursue asking the Board of Adjustment for an exception. We made a conscious decision to move out of the city limits. My husband is a professional registered civil engineer working at Little Rock Wastewater. His name is Vince Hotho. He's smart, he's talented, but he has a horrible hobby. Gary Troutman's already told you about it. My husband likes junk cars. It's junky. He likes to buy a car for $200 with a blown motor, and then he likes to tinker with it for about the next year, and then maybe sell it. That's what he does. And that's why we went to the county. One of Vince's visions was he always wanted a big shop where he could build things on the weekends. So when we moved to the county, and we had 2.25 acres here at 470, we built a shop, 13 by 50, 1,600 square feet. It's bigger than the last house we owned. And he gets to tinker with his cars. And he can buy a car and put it in the driveway and mess with it on Thursday and not mess with it again till June if he wants to. That's one reason we moved to the county. I'm that junky neighbor that Gary was telling you about, but we're not quite as bad. I mean, as Gary would make you think. This is our hobby. Well, really Vince's. Now, we never dreamed that we would be forced with annexation and the expenses that it would be on us. I'm asking you that not to annex us, especially when, please let me finish, especially when we left the city because our lifestyle did not meet your rules and regulations. We never broke a rule when we lived inside the city limits, and that's why we chose to leave, because we didn't want to break any of your rules. Please do not force us back into the city when we were good neighbors to leave you in the first place. Thank you so much.
Lynn and Muriel Elu? They had to leave? Okay. Mike, is this the same last name? Elu? Eel, they all left. Fred White.
My name's Fred White. I'm a custom builder, home builder in Hot Springs for 60-something years. My dad was a builder for me. He built Alden and Aldine Cooley's house, and he was the one that had the grocery store on Malvern. They was the only store that didn't sell beer. I respected him for that. I built houses for people that I've enjoyed working for, and I've got into their family, and I knew what was going on. One ear doctors, 2 boys, the mom and dad were gone, and he called me. He said, "Fred," he said, "I got a problem." They were 10 or 12. He said, "The dog has messed up our house." He said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, just get a paper towel and wipe it up." And there was a long pause. He said, "Fred, that won't get it." Anyway, just to update kind of on my life building, that's what I've loved to do. And I've done it with integrity, and I can walk away from any of the house I've built and happy with it. Integrity in me is a very part of my life. There was one job that I was on, and the guy accused me of stealing from him. He fired me, and I finally found out this from another fellow that worked with him that had previously worked for me. And he told him about it, and he said, "Fred didn't do that. He knew that I didn't steal that plywood." I'm looking at all of y'all right now, and if I were in your shoes, I would resign tonight and leave, with the exception of 2 that I think will vote properly. I've still got a minute to shoot. I don't know where else to go with this, but I'm disappointed with y'all. And I've been where I'm at in my house for 46 years. And I shoot a gun in the front and backyard, and I'm probably going to continue to do that. So if y'all want to take me to jail, you feel free to. And I killed a nice buck 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was that big, but he wasn't at my place. It was in our deer club. That doesn't have anything to do with what I'm trying to get across to y'all. I'm looking at each one of y'all, and if y'all do vote to get us into the city, I would resign if you had to vote for that. You can have the gumption and vote against it and still have the integrity. And these people back here and the ones that were in here earlier will think a lot more of you than if you do vote to get us in. Because I don't want to be in the city. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mike Schuler.
I choose not to pile on. I would pass.
Okay. Melissa Schuler? You're letting her be the spokesperson, right?
I'm Melissa Schuler. We live at 338 Heritage Drive. We moved down here to Arkansas in 2001. We chose to live in the county and not in the city, so we bought a house in the county. We have no problem with the city. I think everything in the city is great. We have no problem with the county. Everything in the county is great, but I do believe this is wrong, and I believe you guys know this is wrong. Raising our property taxes will not solve the financial crisis that you have right now.
Kirk Arnold? Arnaud. Oh, Kirk. Is there someone here named Kirk that lives on Lemire Place? Okay. Josh Rowley. Josh Rowley. Is there anybody outside left? Or they're all inside?
They're all in.
They're all inside. Okay, they had to leave. Joe Heck. Hecky.
My name is Joe Hickey. I live at 2240 Shady Grove Road, and lived there since 1983. And a lot of these people here are my neighbors, and we all get along great. And we like living in the, you want to call it the county, but I want to call it the country. I mean, we do a lot of things that people in the city don't do, and we want to continue doing that. I mean, it's, I just hope and pray that y'all listen to everybody and listen to other people that spoke before us, and just hope and pray that y'all pray about it to do what's right for us, because We want to continue to live in the, I'm going to call it the country. Thank you.
Gary Smith.
My name is Gary Smith. I live at 1995 Shady Grove Road. I also own property at 1955 Shady Grove Road. Both properties are conjoined, consist of 25-acre horse farm with 2 ponds and quite a few barns and outbuildings and so forth, and so you can see why I would not want to be a part of the city. There are too many restrictions, and it would infringe on my lifestyle, the lifestyle that I have enjoyed for many, many, many years. I grew up in that area right across from Humphreys Dairy. I know the area frontwards and backwards. I've run over just about every rock in the enclave that you're trying to annex. Rode horses over most of it. And I agree with everyone else here who has spoken and said this is absolutely teetotally wrong. There's no question about it. I think that you know that. I'm CPA. I know why you want to annex it. It's all about money. And I know it'll fill the pockets of the city of Hot Springs. I'm CPA. I know the way it works. I know the way sales revenues work. The A&P Commission will be thrilled to death to get the extra revenues off of it. And I don't think that you all have considered what you are taking on, because I know that there are differences in the rules that exist in the county and that exist in the city as far as nuisance properties are concerned. Now, I'm here to tell you right now, if you all annex us into the city, I'm going to keep y'all busy, because there are 3 nuisance properties around us, and I'm going to pick the phone up and I'm going to let y'all come out there and clean them up. I don't think that you all realize what you're taking on. I live way on out Shady Grove Road. I remember when Shady Grove Road was a dirt road that went all the way to Golf Links Road, and we've lived in that area all these years. It's like my neighbor Mr. Hecky just said, it's country. And if you drive out past Humphreys Dairy, you'll recognize that you are in a very, 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 very rural area. And what you are trying to do is disrupting the lives, the families, the personal day-to-day activities of people who have lived in that area for years and years and years and years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bill Malone.
Well, I'm Bill Malone. I'm a consulting engineer. Have a residence at 2300 Central and an office at 130 Hobson. I've been an engineer in Hot Springs since 1967, and Hot Springs has still got some of the same sewer problems that I worked on when I first came here in 1967. The same thing's going on. But much progress has been made since then. It's ironic that the parcels of land that I own and my wife own in the area are without water and sewer. That's very important. I spent my entire career helping communities obtain water systems and sewer systems. And the property that we bought does not have city water or city sewer. We own a lake lot, and recently we bought 3 acres, and we built a shop, and we're going to have our engineering office and a surveying office there. So we're looking forward to that. I've been planning it for a long time. Never did think we would be in the city. But I can't recall in my career in working with communities any public hearing that I went to where the people objected to the project, that it was passed and without a vote. If there's any doubt about whether the people wanted it or not, the governing body would usually say, let's vote on it, and we'll take a vote and we'll see what they want. I think that's what the people here are asking that you do, is give us a chance to give you some relief in your decision and vote. And that's the American way, as other people have said tonight. We love Hot Springs, my wife and I, and son, and recognize that real progress can occur when everyone cooperates. We're asking that you show us detailed plans along with cost estimates and timetables for what you've planned for the annexed areas and get us ready to vote on it. And we'll all be educated, and we need to be sold on it in order to vote intelligently. And I think you can do that. And I just thank you for your hearing these concerns of the people, and ask that you be very deliberate in your decision.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Malone, may I ask, that property that you have on the lake and the lot where you're building a shop, where is that in District E?
355 Hay Meadow.
Okay, thanks.
Ellen Carpenter.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you, and I want to apologize on the front end for my speed reading. My name is Ellen Carpenter, and I own property at 503 Wilson Lake Lane. I object to the annexation of Area E, and there's 7 facts that are relevant to this discussion. First, the area is 2,400 acres. 400 of those acres are designated as agri-use and vacant. Another 700 acres is assessed as timber and pasture. Therefore, almost 1/2 of E's acreage is vacant land, agricultural land, timberland, or pasture land, and with 426 residents, it is not a densely settled community. In fact, most of the city bounding the proposed Area E is zoned as rural residential. Because of its rural nature, Area E is not bounded by a multitude of retail shopping or restaurants, hotels, banks, gas stations, or car dealers, which would indicate the actual growth of the city beyond its legal boundary. Further, neither water nor sewer is available or provided in a large portion of the proposed Area E. This is Area E. That little one single line is the water that's provided. So, if annexed, the land assessed as agriculture will likely remain agriculture for tax purposes, because nearly 1/2 of the land is agricultural. And given these facts and the very rural and agricultural nature of E, if annexed, the city will spend far more to provide fire and police protection and water and sewer services than likely recover from the additional taxes and revenues generated through the annexation of this area. The 7th point is that proposed Area E represents more than 10% of the total land area of Hot Springs. This is not an island of small unincorporated area. In fact, it is so large, some parcels in Area E fall outside the city's territorial jurisdiction and planning area, which extends 1 mile beyond the corporate boundary of the city. 3 parcels that are outside the corporate boundary, outside the territorial jurisdiction of the city, and are more than 1 mile away from the city's boundary, total 150 acres. Those lots, those parcels are designated as agri-use/vacant. Again, under state law, lands shall not be annexed if they are lands that do not include residents. Based on these facts, the proposed area is not proper for annexation because the area is not densely settled community. The area does not represent the actual growth of the city beyond its legal boundaries. The large area, a significant portion of which is used for agricultural purposes and has no existing city water or sewer services, is not needed for any proper municipal purposes, and it is not valuable by reason of its adaptability for prospective municipal uses. And most importantly, the area includes lands that shall not be annexed under 144302B1A and C, and therefore they cannot be annexed under Arkansas Code 144501. If you annex it, it's my opinion that that's improper and it fails to conform to state law. For these reasons, please vote against the annexation of Area E. And I submit for the record my written comments, which clarify the abbreviated summary I was required to make due to the 3-minute time limit. Please confirm that these comments will be accepted into the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was pretty good. That was real fast. Harry Elliott.
Wow.
My name's Harry Elliott. I, too, live at 503 Wilson Lake Lane. And that was my wife, and I think she pretty well covered the thoughts that we have been talking about for quite some time.
You know, if you try to outdo her, that's going to be a bad thing for you. Right?
Property on Wilson Lake Lane doesn't have water. Shady Grove does not have water. One of the questions I have for the city is, how in the heck are you going to provide fire protection when you don't have a water supply? With that in mind, I look forward to that answer, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Humphreys.
I'm glad he went before me. I didn't have to follow her. Do I get extra minutes? I got 20 people here I need to mention. So that'd give me, an hour?
No, please don't.
My name's Paul Humphreys. I reside at 102 John Circle. I have property at 125 Papas, and I'm representing my mother and Gene Humphreys Family Trust at 1670 Shady Grove Road. And I'm a little nervous because it's the first time I've been in front of a pep rally in a long time. And the gentleman that mentioned the pep rally was there, and he was offered a chance to speak. So I guess he was on the losing team. Mm-hmm. My mother, when I went to mother after this first meeting y'all had, and I said she's 96 years old, 94, and I said, Mom, she can't see, she can't hear, but she knows what she's talking about. She thinks, and she's got a lot of humor. And I said, Mom, what do you think about this annexation? She said, well, they hadn't done anything for me in 76 years. So, there's a little humor. But I had a lot of rest of my family and neighbors didn't quite have the humor. So they asked me if I would represent them in telling you what they have in acreage and their little bit of history in it. And I would really like to mention that in Shady Grove Road, that we pretty well take care of each other out there. My grandpa paid for the first phone line down Shady Grove Road. He and other Shady Grove Road people come up with the money and had it paved. And when there was a fire at his house, the FFA boys from Lakeside got out there and put it out before the fire department got there. And the fire department wasn't supposed to come because their supervisor said, you're not supposed to. And they said, to heck with that, Mr. Humphreys has helped this community. Now I better get to my neighbors or they'll be mad at me. Richard Humphreys has 130 acres. He's been there for 80 plus years, his family. Mary Beth Bridges, 25 acres. Her family's been there 80 plus. Mary and Gene Humphreys Family Trust, 50 acres at this time. 116 years. Paul Humphreys, 10 acres. Just barely a little bit. Robert Humphreys, 17 acres. He's been there, his family's had it 80 plus. Luther Lewis, 14. Ed Humphreys, 37. Now, I got to mention RV Park because the city had a chance to buy it one time, had a contract, but could not pass a 1/8% sales tax to maintain it for the people of this community. A baseball and softball fields that would bring lots of money in. Marlin, Lawson, Irwin, 40 acres, Brewer, Freeman's, Garner, Delvis Garner, Richard Lott, 200. Been here a long time. Rick Gillum, 30. Herman Wilson Trust, 350. Neil Gordon, 40. Jackie Hennessy, 30. John Thompson, 8. This is right at 1,100 acres of the 2,400 you want to annex into the city that these people have lived at, worked over, sweated over, and love it. So please, I request that you vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Tommy Humphreys.
I'm Tommy Humphreys. I live at 122 Park Ridge, which is in the city. I'm here to represent our family that has the property that's connected with the Lakeside Country Golf Club, 418 Wilson Lake Lane. We are against the annexation in the city. We feel it is a violation of our civil rights and that we should be able to vote on whether we're taking into the city or not. The property consists of a golf course that uses 30 acres of approximately 350 acres. The land is used for growing timber and for the use of a golf course. If the use of the golf course should become unsustainable or unprofitable, that we would want to have the chance to put the cattle back on the land, which you would take away from us. There's no residents on the property. We use the property also for hunting, for family and friends. You say in your notice of annexation of surrounded lands that a board approval of the annexation, city services, including sanitation, fire, police protection, will be provided. But what you did not tell us, we can't walk our dogs without a leash. We can't shoot our guns for hunting purposes. And we got to keep our gas mowed and where we can park our cars. Along with all that, you would be putting occupation tax, increased property tax, sales tax permits, improvements, dog license, also the hamburger tax that was voted on by the people in the city years ago. We will not even have a vote on it. Totally wrong. Annexation makes my cost of doing business higher than my competitive golf course, which is just across the creek. The three things that you listed in the notice was sanitation, police, and fire protection. We need neither of these. They are supplied through the county or volunteers. You would have to have a water line to give us fire protection. We have no intention of paying for a water line. We do not need the water. We have ample sanitation and police protection. It's supplied by the county sheriff, and we feel we're protected as well, if not better than the city. Just because the law says you can do this does not make it right. If doing so, and if you vote yes to annex, you're taking away our rights as property owners and citizens of the United States. With all that, I being a resident of the city, I think it's wrong for the city to use our tax money and resources to try to take away other people's votes. Thank you.
Thank you.
What would be my question would be, what would you zone it if you annex it?
We'll write that down and get that on the web page. Richard Lott.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Directors. I've spoke with quite a few of y'all about this deal. Becca, you spoke with my wife, and I've spoke with you guys. I appreciate you calling me back. I live at 2521 Shady Grove Road, and this land has been in my family for over 100 years. My grandfather bought it, and my daddy growed up on it, and I've grown up on it, and now I have my grandchildren that's growing up on it. And we hunt it, and we garden, and we raise cows, and we raise other animals on it and stuff like that. And I'm quite sure that if the city takes over, that some of that's going to be done away with. And I'm not really ready for that, because I'd like to see my grandchildren be able to do what I've done on that land. I mean, it's my land. It's not your land. It's my land. Why would you come in and give me rights or take away my rights of my land that has been there since my grandfather homesteaded it? It's been there forever, over 100 years. That's why I am against any kind of an annexation. We have everything we need. We have our water. We have our sewer. We have everything we need. And besides, I just like to keep the rights for my grandbabies and my children to be able to do what I have been able to do. And I just hope and pray that y'all will feel it in your heart. It's Christmas. It's Christmas time, y'all. Come on. And just find it in your heart to be able to work with me and not do this because it's my heritage. It's really everything to me. And I'm not going to be a good city citizen. I can promise you that. I'm not going to be. But anyway, appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming to visit with me, and I appreciate you guys calling me back. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Renee Westfall.
Good evening, directors. I didn't expect to be here at 10 o'clock at night, but glad you're all still with me. My name is Renee Westfall. I live at 102 Glen Meadow, and I am a citizen of the city of Hot Springs, one who absolutely stands with my neighbors behind me that I've grown up with my whole life, and I am asking you to walk away from this area. You guys may have some points on the other areas, but Area E has no semblance to growth outside the city where you are trying to recover your boundary. These people chose not to come into the city. This was not an accident. You've heard from all of these people. This was not our blighted areas getting in the way or some type of urban sprawl. They made a conscious decision to go and live life their own way. And we don't have the right to take it away from them. I've also got some questions as a city resident because I've certainly been hearing a whole lot about this water shortage that has been going on. And I don't understand how if we don't have water to supply the county with the water that they need, that we're going to suddenly find the water to run it all the way down to Lake Catherine this time. I guess we've got the grade going now? Or, there's some other issues. It seems to me like we didn't have anything to talk about 30 days ago. There was so little to talk about, we canceled 2 board of directors meetings. Nothing on the agenda. And then, right after the election, we had an emergency meeting to impose a property tax because this city could not afford to replace a radio communication system that we've known was bad for 10 years. How can we afford to take in 3,000 acres and provide services when we apparently can't afford to provide what we need now without imposing a property tax? I'll go back to my original objection. It is these people's rights. These are people that we grew up with. Be Albright, we went to school with these people. We know their lifestyle. They don't deserve to have these rules imposed on them. And we as city residents cannot afford to continue emergency meetings and additional property taxes to pay for things that we don't have a plan for. Thank you.
Sorella Miles.
My name is Sorella Miles. I live at 625 Shady Heights Road. I've been there 14 years. And all I want to say is we do not want to be put into the city. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. or is it Donald Moody. Moody. I'm sorry. Gotcha. I figured it out. Donald, right? Okay.
Actually, I'm Donald Moody Jr. speaking on behalf of Donald Moody Sr.
Okay.
He's 80 years old. He doesn't like to speak.
Okay.
But I'd like to address the board. I chose this piece of property for my father 23 years ago. Wanted it in the county. I live in the county. Very nice piece of property. Contiguation of it is about 20 acres with 4 neighbors. They all get along. 4th of July, my family comes from Georgia. Once a year, we're together. We have fireworks. We have an all-day cook. We have 30 to 40 people. It's a very nice celebration. Our neighbors are there. My father doesn't want to see that changed. And I didn't pick it thinking, hey, 10 years, Dad, you're going to be living in the city. Because if he had, he would have been on me to find a better place. He does have a better place. He has a very nice place. It's well kept. He doesn't mind. The city codes about keeping your property doesn't affect him because that's the kind of person he is. But he wants his right to do what he wants with his property. And if you don't mind, let's role play for a moment. You guys are on a board, let's say, and I'm the board of director. You're wanting to put in a new Walmart. I come in and I say, well, we got a Walmart center right here. Oh, but we can put a Walmart center 3 blocks down and keep the one that we've got. We've got business and we're going to dilute it. Well, cannibalization does not solve the problem. All you're doing is adding expense and not gaining any profits. That's not a very business side of anything. But you guys, can do what you want to do. But as if I was a regional manager and you were on a board looking for a new place, you would be looking for a new place to work. Thank you.
Evelyn Geyer. Evelyn Geyer on Chase Place. Is she here? She probably had to go home. Amy Marlar.
My name is Amy Marlar. I live at 1872 Shady Grove Road. I've lived there for 9 years. I'm against this. We like to have a garden. We love our animals. We like to get on our tractor. We like to play with our derby cars. And if you annex us into the city, that's going to take all that away, and that's going to change our way of life. And we don't want that. And that's going to change everything for us. And that's all I've got to say. Also, my children missed the Christmas parade for the first time. So thank you for that. So that chance of rain yesterday, yeah, great.
Thank you. Naaman Freeman.
Hi, I'm Naaman Freeman. Most people call me Dean. I live at 2277 Shady Grove Road. And I'm like Richard. We're practically neighbors through the woods, and we call it country out there. I've got 10 acres. It's a Freeman compound. That's the way I call it. There's 5 residences on it, and they're all on the 10 acres, and they're all Freemans. My father served in World War II. When he came back from World War II after being wounded twice, he took my mother, and at that time there was 2 brothers and a sister, and he told her, so let's take the kids and let's move to the country. And that's when they came to the country. They moved out there, and at the time, the road was very narrow. It was dirt, and we raised, and I could go through the whole litany of things, the horses, cows, pigs, chickens, ducks, rabbits, everything. We've had everything on there. This is my entire way of life. I was born on that property. We're working on 4 or 5 generations of Freemans now on that property. That property is county. It's always been county. It's rural. It's always been rural. All my neighbors next to me own multiple acres. I don't have any directly attached to my property that owns. I probably own the least amount of all of them. And I have talked to 100% of my property owners that attach to my land, and we are 100% against being in the city. I promise you that we will not be good city residents. You will not enjoy us with the city. You understand? I hope you understand. We don't want your stuff. Y'all want it? That's fine. I choose that. I choose the county. Y'all want to choose the city? That's fine. And I've still got 54 seconds, so I'm sort of repeating myself. But I want you. I cannot instill in you enough how angry this makes me that you're wanting to do this to me. You could have waited till I died. I'll 20 more years, do it then. Okay, I'll be gone and I'll be out of your hair. But I know your daddy and my daddy were great friends. That's all I'm going to say. So, y'all have a good time. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you. Sean Ross. Sean Ross II.
Hi, my name is Sean Ross. We're 2156 Shady Grove Road, just a little small 5 acres out there. We're actually the last house that has city water. My both neighbors on both sides do not have city water. They actually skipped a house. Honestly, that's the worst water. I still wish I had the well hooked up. I have to clean filters about twice a week right now. We're not seeing any improvements. We're not seeing any gains from being in the city. We live in a county, well, like everyone else says, because we love it. I can go out back and I can get my daughter accustomed to this is what a rifle is, this is what a pistol is. You don't play with this until you're older. I can get her used to these things so we don't have accidents, in the future and all that. It's just not, it's not a positive situation for either side here. Y'all aren't gaining but a buttload of land that really doesn't have anything on it outside of a bunch of people who love living on a bunch of land. We're losing some of the good services that we have. We have a really good fire station. We have got some great county police. And it's just not a positive situation for anybody. So please, don't do this. I've been living on this land for 12 years. For someone of my age, that's a very long time. For some other people here, that's nothing. But for me, that's over half my life. So let's not change what I've had for most of my life. Let's not change the way my life has been. Thank you.
Thank you. James Phillips.
My name is James Phillips. I live at 222 Catherine Heights Loop. I don't know what else can be said tonight. I've listened for 3.5 hours, just like you folks have. None of us want this. I bought my land because it was in the county. That's why I bought it. Part of my property's in the city, part of it's in the county. I get to deal with both. I like it. There's deer, there's animals. My neighbors are great folks. I know a lot of these people behind me. They all get along, they help each other. This is the way we like to live. When we talk about going to the store, we say we're going to town because we live in the country, and that's what we want to do. I could have lived anywhere in Hot Springs. I moved here. My wife's family's been here for 150 years. I really like this place, but I want to live in the county. So I just ask you to let us live in the county. Thank you.
Okay. Grace Walker. Grace, did she leave? Okay. Robert Chestnut? He here? Chestnut.
Thank you. I'm Robert Chestnut, 491 Wilson Lake Road. My wife and I are opposed to the annexation of E. We, like everyone here tonight, hate the law that prohibits us from voting on annexation. I had some comments here, and fortunately our attendees have covered all the points. I'm one of those who lives down the road a mile from the any city water or sewer access. And I too ask, what are the costs for doing this? How's the city going to benefit? And what really, and quickly looking at it, so put that down for our question. what the next 3 years look like on the cost and the benefits to the city and to these areas being annexed. But what really I wonder about is that if there's a lot of development that comes along with the city and water down our lane, I really wonder if the city's going to go and give waivers of development fees and so on to encourage high-density population. And so once again, adding to everybody's cost by creating these waivers. And it's not a benefit either to the city or to our county. So please address that. Thank you.
Thank you. William Kirst.
Good evening. I'm Bill Kirst. I live at 272 Humphreys Road. I want to thank you guys for your patience tonight. You've had a lot of input from the crowd, and I think they should be appreciated as well for giving up their time to come share their views. So I appreciate that very much. In my diligence to try to find out what this really meant to us, I had called Miss Selman, and she was terribly helpful and responsive, as was Chief Davis, and I appreciated their insight. What I still haven't been able to find out is why the city wants to annex us. I've looked on the website. I don't see any real compelling reason, and I'm sure there is one. You are all fine business people. I've worked with a number of you, so I have no doubt that there's something out there, but we just don't seem to know that. As you listen to the crowd out in the audience, the items they're complaining about are the increase in the taxes. I don't think we know what the impact is going to be, and if you could share that with us so we can make an informed decision, I think many of the neighbors would get on board with it. I mean, you only have half the crowd here tonight, and that's those who are against it. So we don't really know who's for it, but we don't have enough information to make a logical decision to support what you're trying to accomplish. So if I had a question or an issue, when I run my business, we do due diligence on things just as all of you do. Tell us what it is. Why do you want us? What's the reason? What's the benefit? I was shared to me we'd get better police service. I loved how the sheriff's department's been fantastic for me the 2 times in 15 years. I can't complain about that whatsoever. I do appreciate the distance that they have to travel if they have vehicles on the other side of town. That makes perfect sense. But if you would just let us know what some of those items are so we could be better stewards and so we can understand what you're trying to accomplish, I think that would be very helpful to all of us. This room is full of good business people who understand what you're trying to accomplish, or we think we do. It's not all about taxes. There are benefits. But just, if you would, come back to us and say, hey, this is why we want to do this, how it's going to help us. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. George Pritchett.
George Pritchett, 207 Crestwood. You've heard from a lot of people tonight. With the exception of Gary Troutman, I didn't hear a single soul stood up here and spoke tonight that said they wanted to come into the city. I would certainly request that you honor the request of the people. Certainly this Area E has the most compelling argument. I mean, the Humphrey family alone has half of it. So, I mean, they can speak. They can come down here and we can have a dinner for just the Humphrey family, and they can explain it to you. I'll cater the dinner, folks. We're going to do this, whatever you do. When you get done, there's going to be petitions and there's going to be a lawsuit, and we just spend more money. We got a lot of people that's really willing to work. Out of this group tonight, there's been probably 35 or 40 people that said, if they do this, we want to work with you guys. Now, I don't like filing lawsuits against you all. I'm just a guy in the city that they say, can we use your name, and what do you think? And I think you're treating people wrong. We did it wrong in A. We certainly did it wrong in B, and here we are. We're paying inflated sanitation rates because we take our money and we go off and buy the Majestic property and clean it up and whatever we're going to do. We loan money to Magic Springs out of it. I don't think these people want to pay those inflated sanitation rates. I'm not going to ask them. I'm pretty sure what they'd tell me. Here we are. We got sewer. one of the people that live down at Wilson Lake Road, out at the end of it, there's no fire hydrants out that way. They got a long way to go to a fire hydrant. They're told that in a year we'll give you a schedule, and in a couple of years or 3 years or someday, maybe, if we ever find the money, we'll do it. Now, where are we going to get money to build new water and sewer treatment that's going to take on and take care of all of these areas? Because this is a lot of area. I just keep having questions. You know, we're spending money. We take police officers and put them over on blight. Then we're going to go out here. And why? Why would a developer want to build residential development inside of the city of Hot Springs? I haven't found one that I can talk to that says, I'd like to put a new development inside the city of Hot Springs so that the people I sell it to can pay the property millage that we've never had before. And we know that that's just the beginning. It's not going to go away in 2 years. It's going to grow next year, and it's going to grow the year after until we get to the maximum. We're railroading these people into the city. Why are we railroading people in the city? Y'all can't even tell us tonight. You've not put in the newspaper, you've not published how much money in each of these enclaves it's either going to cost the city or return to the city. I think that's a fair question. I'm a city resident. I'd like to know if it's plus or minus. I don't want my services deleted inside, and I certainly don't want to be putting money to underwrite these folks, my friends out in the county, that don't want to be my neighbor in the city. Thank you.
Okay. Justin Freeman.
Justin Freeman. I'm at 2271 Shady Grove Road. I would just ask that you do listen to all the sentiments and the emotions that have been shared with you this evening. We've all been here, and there's all been a lot shared. We are against it, we are opposed to it, and we ask that you vote against it. Thank you.
Skip Houston.
Skip Houston, 155 Five Point Circle in Garland County in Enclave P. I can't add anything to what these people have said. You've heard them speak from their heart. They are as upset as anybody I've spoken with in the last 2 years on this whole thing. Out of all the people I spoke with on the phone, and we use one of my phone numbers, that's why I'm the one that's calling them, but out of all the people, half of them at least were from this enclave. And I heard some really passionate appeals over the phone, and I'm hearing even more tonight there. That's probably the most troubling and the most shameful abuse of power that you all are contemplating is this Enclave E. It really is. That's nearly 4 square miles of land. 2,400 acres is about 3.75 square miles. That's a lot of land. And as you heard them say tonight, some of the use that they use for it, that they have for generations. I drank a lot of Humphrey's milk when I was in grade school. I know that. And kind of sad to see when the dairy went away there. But it's just, listen to what they're saying. They're speaking from their heart. And there's a number of people, let me make one more point and I'll end that, but there is a number of people that were out there earlier in the evening. We had people coming in 6:30, 6:45, and as you know, there's a lot of traffic with the Christmas parade. Apparently Oakland had a party over here and maybe some other functions in this area. And so we had people coming well before 7 o'clock, and this group here has had some attrition. There was some that had to leave, had to get home to their families. Their kids were up late, this type of thing. And there were if this had been the first meeting, the first hearing, or a separate hearing, there would have been probably twice as many people here. I appreciate your consideration for them. Oh, and I thought we had missed Santa Claus, but I think he appeared as Mr. Freeman back here in disguise.
Okay, Luther Lewis.
Good evening. I think I might be last.
No.
No? Okay. All right. I'm Luther Lewis. I actually live in Pocahontas, Arkansas.
Wow.
But I've got property at 1675 Shady Grove Road. That property is 14 acres, and it consists of the Humphreys Dairy Farm, dairy plant, the barn where they milk the cows, and the home where Mr. Humphrey had his family. And I acquired this property about 4 years ago. I feel very honored that the Humphreys let me purchase those 14 acres. I've got the property on the National Registry of Historic Structures. We have completed the renovation of the home. We're now currently working on the part of the barn we were able to salvage. And our intent is to rebuild the part of the barn that we had to take down just due to the deterioration on it. But working with the National Registry of Historic Structures and also the State Fire Marshal's office and so forth, it's a kind of a long, lengthy process to get approval for our renovations. But we're going to do it where it meets the National Registry and also, of course, meets all safety codes. I've known Randy for a long time. We both have healthcare career backgrounds, and Randy was very nice and visited with me recently and assured me what we had going on out there, we could keep going, and if annexation occurred, what we had would stay in place. We're in the middle of the barn renovation, close to being to the point where we can use it. And I guess one of my concerns would be what kind of regulations from the city would need to be placed on our barn renovation project so that we could still be in compliance with the city in addition to the state and the historical folks. You know, this is not a cheap process we're going through, but we want this restored back the way it was for the citizens of Hot Springs through Garland County. We've already had probably 6 or 8 weddings there this year, and our intent is to, we have been renting the home out for the past year and a half on a nightly basis, a lot of it for family reunions, family gatherings, and we want the barn to be used for that type purpose also. We've had half a dozen weddings there this year. We want the barn to be used for weddings, receptions, to be used by the citizens of this county. And I would just hope it wouldn't become a bigger burden to us by having a lot of additional regulations placed on us with the annexation. And not being a resident here, I can't vote one way or the other if you do put it up to a vote, but I would ask you to let the citizens of this area vote and decide if this area should be annexed or not. I think it's a great area. We like the rural ambiance. My wife still says she wants to put a few cows out there. I'm with Randy. I don't want to clean up cows and watch after chickens and all that kind of stuff, but who knows? Sometimes the wives speak, that's what you end up doing if you can. But, we just want to restore the Humphrey Dairy Farm homestead to what it was. And, there again, like for the citizens to vote that live there about the annexation. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Diana Williams. Oh, okay. This is Larry has a letter from a couple that couldn't come tonight, but they sent their words, and he's going to read them.
Okay, and I'm going to kind of abbreviate this because we've been here a long time. My name is Diana Williams, and I would qualify by saying that we are not related. She's a Meredith originally. I live in Area E of the proposed annexation, 577 Wilson's Lake Road. My husband and I are both physically disabled and college educated. I would like to tell you my personal opinion on the proposed annexation. Firstly, and most importantly, I feel completely unrepresented in this matter. If the people in these areas purchase their properties in the country, there is a reason for it. Sure, conveniences are great for some, but there is a trade-off. We should be the ones to make this decision. I would be willing to bet most of us want to stay in the county. And then I'm going to cut down to the middle of the letter. To annex such for forested land full of wildlife could only mean loss of that beauty, because it would for sure mean more traffic, more people, and more restrictions. I have very little left in my life besides my family and my dogs, 2 of which are disabled just like me. To put my dogs on a leash to walk them would be nearly impossible with me in the electric wheelchair. Setting off fireworks on the back of our porch with my grandson is something we look forward to because we cannot make it into the large fireworks displays safely. My stepson is now involved in the Hunters for the Hungry program, learned how to target shoot right here and hunted in the area in the near woods. Both of our children have become prosperous and caring members of society, serving others and starting families of their own. This land is mine, free and clear. No entity should have a right to change that without my vote. And I have abbreviated the letter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We have James Fluellen.
James Michael Fluellen, 103 Williamsburg Circle. I've only lived there 5 years, and I feel like the Indians with the pipeline right now. It's not funny. That's the way I feel. I'm a Vietnam vet. I'm disabled. I worked as a law enforcement officer for the last 30 years, and I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years. I fought for democracy. This is not democracy. I don't know what you're going to call it, but this is not democracy. That's the way we'll look at you right now. Think about it. There's a lot of people here that put their butts on the line for the American people, and for you people to do this to us, it ain't right. You know it.
Thank you, sir. Wade Hall.
My name is Wade Hall. I live at 105 Fernwood, and I'm against this altogether. But here's the reason why. Excuse me. I have a neighbor that I've had for 10 years. You couldn't ask for better neighbors. When he found out that he was going to put us inside the city, put his house up for sale, and sold it in 2 months, moved out another 6 miles away from Hot Springs, so he would not be in the city. Quote, my father-in-law had a house. Y'all put him inside the city limits. He sold it. He lives now in Malvern to be away from Hot Springs because of all the stuff you got to do. Another question I want to ask you. Permits. Am I going to have to buy a permit to paint my front door? Am I going to have to buy a permit to burn a lease I've done for 40 years in the same house? I've got keys to most of my neighbor's house because we all trust one another. We look for one another. We have never had anybody, if they come up our road, there's somebody looking. They want to know. We're a bunch of rednecks? Yes. We take care of one another. I know some of the deputy sheriffs that come out there, he said, all the places we come to, he said, I don't worry much about this because you people are usually watching for one another. And we do. And by putting us inside the city limits, it's not going to help a thing. But you think it does. But understand this. I want to ask this. If y'all do pass it, can we put a petition to vote, put it on a vote? And if it is voted in that we don't want this, will it do away with it? Answer me yes or no. Can y'all answer me that?
I don't think they're allowing us to answer anything right now, so just go ahead and we'll write it down.
I'm just telling you, with this many people against this, y'all need to think hard of what you're trying to do. Because, like this man said, this country was set up for democracy, not dictators. And I'm sorry, I respect you people, but as far as I'm concerned, you're like a bunch of dictators. You're going to do it whether I like it or not. And you're wrong. And there's going to be people that's fighting against it. You might as well be ready. And I will not be a good citizen either. I've got a neighbor, he was in the military. We had a bonfire in his front yard because he was going to Africa. He told me, he said, wait, I can't be there, but stand up for me. I said, I'll do it. There's other neighbors couldn't be here because of bad legs and stuff. I said, I'll be there. But all I'm saying, you know this is not right. You've got this many people, and you really need to think about what you're fixing to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. And again, I thank you all for being here and staying so long and expressing your feelings. And I say this all the time to people who will listen, that we're not dealing with brick and mortar and land. We're dealing with people and lives and families. And I want to thank you for who you are and for your willingness to come and say what you said tonight. And I'm glad that you did. So that's the last one, and we will adjourn this meeting. But thank you for coming. Thank you for staying so long. Appreciate you. We are adjourned. Public hearing is adjourned. Okay, what else is there? That was it.
Oh, we had a public comment?
No, they scribbled it out. They realized.
If they are,
I was hoping not. Well, you got your announcement. Well, we got through.
Please indicate by saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? No. We are adjourned.
Raise your head up.